hit them two right there. Okay, let's go ahead and it's 5 o'clock. We'll call the Solid Waste Committee meeting to order. Dakota, if you would.
Yes.
Prayer, please.
Bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for allowing us to gather here today to conduct your business. Lord, work through us. Help us work for our community. Be with us with every decision that we can make. God, thank you for your Son who died on the cross for the remission of our sins, and we are so thankful to serve you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, roll call, please.
Dakota White,
Here.
TK Austin,
Here.
Becky Golden, here. Jordan Cope, here. Chris Burrington,
Here.
Roger Mason,
Here.
Larry Daniels.
Here.
Do you have a quorum, Mr. Chairman?
This time I'll entertain a motion to approve the May 5th minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, is there any old business? Okay, I don't know whether this would be under old business, new business, I don't know. I don't know if any of y'all have been by the landfill, but it appears as though that they are coming along very quick with their land clearing, and they've already started doing some excavating there. I'm not sure whether they've actually got a permit yet. Do you know whether?
Mr. Chairman, last I heard was the permit had been submitted back to TDEC with corrections and answers to questions. And I think there was a couple of weeks that they had, TDEC has to get that back, so it should be just any time.
Okay. All right. Any new business?
I don't know if this is new or old, and it might be old, what you were just talking about, the landfill. So what is the percentage that we've got so far? So we've got 2 million to start with when we sold the landfill. Have we got any other money besides that?
No.
And so we're waiting on this sale to open up in order to get another 2 million or whatever. Am I correct?
And then when the sale opens, we start getting a recurring monthly percentage as well from the tipping fee.
And so if this sale does not open up until the first of the year, it'll still be first of the year before we get another $2 million.
Correct.
I mean, if they had to, I don't know how the timing works. I mean, like TK said, everything down there right now, it looks like it's happening pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's impressive, but if they got the permit today, I know it's quite a process to get that hole dug and all the piping and stuff for the leachate and all that stuff, and I would assume several months if they had the permit back today.
Yeah,
Because I know when we had looked at it before closing and opening, we were looking at like a two-year turnaround. I mean, that was us doing it, but.
Okay. Any more new business? Calendar update. Our next full court meeting will be June 16th at 6 p.m. Here in this room. And our next solid waste meeting will be July the 7th it'll start at 5 p.m. here in this room. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. We have a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Move along to the Committee A. We will call for order. Roll call, please.
Kane Rogers. TK Austin.
Here.
Becky Golden.
Here.
Laney Selby.
Here.
Thomas Ferguson.
Here.
Derek Hutchings.
Here.
Larry Daniels.
Here.
Do you have a quorum, Mr. Chairman?
Okay. So first on the agenda is going to be approval to adopt Jersey Pike to the county road list.
You skipped,
This is,
you skipped 3, approval of last month's report.
oh, okay. Let's back up, and I will accept a motion to approve the May 5th minutes for the last steering committee A meeting.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay, now then, we need a motion to adopt the Jersey Pike Road to the county road list, which Commissioner Jerry Sawyer has already approved this. It's met his approval, and the motion will need to be pending the
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission's approval tomorrow.
I'll make a motion pending planning commission's approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Next is discussion on mineral severance tax. Denny Wayne, you want to?
Five, I think. You already got one, don't you?
Yeah. Well,
This is we don't have a resolution yet, but this is the, kind of, I guess you call it draft, it's what's going to be on it. Recently, this past year, the General Assembly passed Senate Bill 889 in conjunction with House Bill 695 that allows the counties to increase the mineral severance tax. This was done in agreement with the road builders, who are the ones that actually pay the majority of the severance tax. But what happens is currently it's 15 cents per ton, and if we pass a resolution, the county can raise it July 1 to 20 cents per ton, and then in 2030, we raise it 25 cents per ton, and then in July of 2035, it can go to 30 cents per ton. CTAS is supposed to be working on getting us a resolution. If y'all want to send this to full court, if y'all want to consider this, the way I would write this up, unless the CTAS disagrees, would go ahead and put all 3 phases in the same resolution, send that to the state. But the state's the one who will be doing the paperwork and accepting the tax and dispersing it back out to the counties. So I would, because it would be hard, I'll be honest with you, it would be hard for people that's going to be in my shoes and your shoes in the next 15 years to remember all this. So I was going to write all up in one go around. But if y'all want to consider this or have any questions, you can send it to full court and I'll get it rolled up if CTAS doesn't do it on their own.
What's the extra 5 cents? What is that anticipated?
We looked that up, 25, okay, 75 right now at 15 cents.
75,000.
At 15 cents, so you look at another 25,000. That's about 25,000 per vehicle. And that does go to the highway department. That is what our, goes to fund the roads.
So additional $25,000 a year annually.
Pays you a quarter of a mile.
Okay, we have a motion to send full court. Do I
Second.
have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any
Randy
discussion?
made the motion, I seconded it.
Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay, is there any old business?
I should see where we was at on the new, on the bike trail, making the new entrance. I know that, group was supposed to be making a new entrance.
We discussed it during the Parks and Rec meeting, but no action was taken yet.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, any more old business? Any new business? Okay, have a couple of things under new business. There will be a oversight committee meeting here later on tonight, and on this there will be a bylaws amendment to approve like donations for to the public or to the government. It'll be a thing for that, and then electronic participation, which will be the state has made it us eligible so we can do a electronic vote for people that are not able to make it to the meetings or whatever for well, there's a criteria that you got to meet, but anyway, it'll be that's what the oversight committee will be about. Okay, is there any more new business? Okay, hearing none. Our calendar update, June 16th will be our next full court at 6 p.m. in this room, and then July 7th will be our next steering committee meeting following solid waste. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Steering Committee B to order Roll call, please.
Chris Brington.
Here.
David Cranford.
Here.
Robert McCormick.
Here.
Dakota White.
Here.
Jordan Coe.
Here.
Roger Mason.
Here.
Kyle Call.
Here.
Do you have a quorum, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of the May 5th Steering Committee B minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve those minutes to record. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion on noise complaints. I guess it was at the last full court meeting. We had a resident here, with questions regarding how to address that. And I think Commissioner Hutchins, have you spoke with him again? Maybe have a little bit more
I spoke with the owner of the racetrack to inform him that we had an inquiry. He said that he's aware of the noise, and he's talked to several of the citizens right there that's very close by. He said they're only scheduling 2 races a month, and they're doing a limited schedule on the number of classes that they have to keep it as short as possible. He said their goal is to be done by 9:30, 10 o'clock each night, to be done as quick as possible. So they had the night in question, I think they were at 11:30 or something. He said they had some equipment malfunctions that put them behind, but this last week they were done at 9, or the last race.
The last race.
They were done at 9:30, I think it was. He said he wants to be a good citizen, and he's well aware, and they're going to try to be done every night by 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Thank you for reaching out to them. I appreciate it. Anybody else have any other comments or questions or advice regarding that? The county doesn't have any noise ordinance regulations that could be enforced anyway, so without creating something, it seems like the best approach is trying to work something out. Okay, next item on the agenda is court fees. Mr. Executive, you may have to help me just a hair with this.
Yes, sir.
I've looked at it,
I apologize, are we on the court fees?
yes, sir. Basically, it's a $12.50 fee for supplemental funding for the Office of District Attorney General, 13th District, all that.
All right.
I've looked at it, but I'd rather you explain it.
This is another bill that came through the General Assembly. It says Senate Bill 547 and House Bill 547, and I think that may be a typo because I've never known them to say bill numbers. But what this does is, it is basically allowing, or not allowing, ordering the circuit court clerk of White County having jurisdiction of state misdemeanors and felonies shall include in every misdemeanor and felony cost bill a charge of $12.50 that must be remitted to the Office of the Executive Director of the District Attorney General's office for the purpose of providing supplemental funding for the Office of the District Attorney General of the 13th Judicial District. Any unencumbered monies and any unexpended balance of such funds remaining at the end of the fiscal year do not revert back to the state general fund, but must be carried forward for the purpose of which they were originally intended. And then there's some other cleanup language in there. Basically, this is authorizing the circuit court clerk to add an additional $12.50 on state misdemeanors and felonies, and that funding goes straight to the district attorney's office. There's no oversight from the county on it. And that is something that needs,
Yeah, there is a,
goes.
y'all should have seen in the packet, there's a resolution that's been drafted for full court.
Make a motion to send it to full court for approval.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second to send this resolution to full court.
That was sent to me by the district attorney, so we'll have to clean the resolution up just a little bit. It's sent by the district attorney and to Sam and our legal attorney. And obviously, the district attorney wants it passed for additional funding. I think Sam is good with it. There's nothing, he says there's no problem with it. It's whatever the will of the committee is.
So basically, does it do anything for the county?
No. Well, I say no. I don't know what the district attorney, if it helps with investigating crimes in the county or something along that line, it may, but as far as any revenue increase to the county or anything that we can do with it, no.
And basically, all this resolution is doing is authorizing us to collect it from them.
Yes,
That's the way I understand it.
correct.
So we do have a motion made by Commissioner Cranford and a second by Commissioner McCormick. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is old business. Is there any old business that we need to talk about? Okay, hearing none. Next item on the agenda is new business. Is there any new business that we need to discuss? Hearing none. Monday, June 16th at 6 o'clock will be full court. Next steering committee B meeting will be Monday, July the 7th. Here. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Oversight and Ethics Committee to order. First thing on the agenda is roll call.
Executive Robinson,
Here.
Kyle Goff.
Here.
Roger Mason.
Here.
TK Austin.
Here.
Derek Hutchings.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Here's your paper.
All right. First on the agenda is the approval of the December 2nd, 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion, probably seconded. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes are approved. Next, I kind of called this meeting because there's two things that came up. First one being discussion on the new electronic, allowing members of the county commission to participate electronically. I don't know that I don't. I either lost some or mean you're going to share. I'll give this to you in a minute. Okay. Basically, the Senate Bill 136, House Bill 152 under Public Chapter 580 allows for members of the county legislative body to participate in county legislative meetings, county commission meetings electronically. There's several rules to this. They were worried about this becoming an issue where people wouldn't be able to address county commission. Members may participate electronically only if they are dealing with a family or medical emergency, have been called to military service, or prevented from being in person due to inclement weather. This provision is intended to accommodate unforeseen circumstances while ensuring that all the physical meetings retain the required quorum. So basically what that means, you have to have a quorum present for anybody to be able to participate electronically. They can't be used to make up the quorum. Electronic participation is permitted only when the quorum of members is physically present. Just said that. No more than 20% of the members, not to exceed 3 legislative members, may participate electronically at any given meeting. So 20% of 14 for us is like 2.8, so I guess that would be 2 people is the max that could do it for us. Each member is limited to participating via electronically for a maximum of 2 times per calendar year. Meetings that include electronic participation must be accessible to the public through real-time live audio or video streaming, which we have already got in place. Of course, you got to have a recording, which we've already got in place. Public notice accompanying each meeting invitation must clearly describe how the public can access the electronic components of the meeting. The county legislative body is required to establish formal policies governing electronic participation. And adoption of these policies, including the procedures for adopting in or opting out of electronic participation, shall require a 2/3 vote of the county commission to ensure consensus with the compliance of Senate Bill 136, House Bill 152. See if there's anything else that's... So anyway, I'll open the floor up for some discussion on whether this is something that we want to look at entertaining, or do we not want to decide to do this? Yes, sir.
I can't really think of a time where, other than us not having a quorum, where it was.
Yeah, but we can't use it to make a quorum.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't.
Wouldn't help.
Who will determine what's a family or medical emergency?
That would be up to the commission to define what
Is
that
that
is.
just a good faith system?
Yeah, well, you're limited to 2 times per year, so I don't see it getting per se abused. This is just a tool to help commissioners participate for some reason or another that cannot.
I mean, I'm good with it. The only question I have is, if we're limited to only allowing 2, if for some reason we had 3, how would we determine who would get to and who wouldn't?
Well, that would be something we'd have to determine, but I would assume the first 2 that called would be the 2 that said, I can't be there. Yeah, would be my guess.
Well, I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
This will have to go to full court, of course.
Okay. Is it like 2/3 majority
It is 2/3 majority vote. Yes.
for the commission?
Yes, I'll entertain a question.
Can you identify what is considered an electronic voting? I mean, considering these days that we're in electronic could be very questionable on our ability to ask questions of other folks.
That's a good question, because I don't think I read that part, but the chairman of the county commission has to be able to see the face of the person participating, so we'd have to have some sort of screen up. And has to be able to recognize that it is him participating.
And we would ask questions of that person as well while they're here voting, electronically here voting.
You know, I would assume, the law doesn't say that you have to do that, But if they're here and they can hear us and we can hear them, I don't see what the difference would be than any other time. But the law does not require that you be able to ask that commissioner a question. The chairman has to be able to, yeah, so I guess it'd be yes, because the chairman has to be able to acknowledge the participant.
Just real quick, if someone's involved in a family or medical emergency, are they really going to sit down at their laptop and participate in a meeting?
Probably not during the emergency, but if they're sitting in the hospital while they're recovering or something, they may. But not actively during an emergency, I would assume not.
And what's the cost to implement this?
There is no cost, other than what electricity it takes to plug the screen up. Any other questions or anything on the motion? Second, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. It is approved. Or approved to be sent to full court. All right, next on the agenda, we had I brought this up. This is, we have just recently had a building donated to the county, which is a good thing. This is not nothing to knock that. I appreciate the solid waste, the Parks and Rec subcommittee working on that, but nobody from the county commission really knew a whole lot about what was going on. And this would just put in some rules. I put in some thoughts that I thought we need to talk about. Amend the bylaws will establish specific criteria that donated buildings, structures, and materials must meet before being accepted by the county. Each donation must undergo a preliminary review by designated county officials to determine its compliance with county needs and strategic priorities. The big one I was worried about was the financial impact. Once a donation meets the additional criteria, a comprehensive plan detailing the asset's condition, maintenance responsibilities, and potential financial impact will need to be prepared by the budget committee. This plan will be forwarded to the budget committee to conduct a thorough fiscal analysis, ensuring the costs associated with the donation, such as restoring, ongoing maintenance, necessary modifications, or insurance, are clearly outlined and justified within the county's budget. Then I put through it, and the guys, these are just my ideas. I just kind of threw down on paper, so I'll accept any kind of moving around. When we find out we can, the budget committee decides that we can't afford it, following the budget committee's review and determination of the fiscal implications of the donation process, along with the financial impact, will be submitted to the full court for final deliberation and approval. Of course, detailed records of the review process and how it went through will be provided to you. Public notice. So much. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't have more. I thought I made a bunch. But
So
this is,
in a nutshell, somebody's offered to build a building at the county complex. Fully enclosed, what size is the building around here?
30 by 40.
30 by 40 building, completely enclosed for practice or for youth football.
Basically, it's a field house for youth football. So you concrete pad, 30 by 40 metal building. Like this would have been, I like it because it would have been helpful when we did that. Because
after the fact is,
I mean, when you're in there and, you know, like you said, it seems like a really good thing.
and I'm sure it will be.
Yes, but it's the little details you don't think about in the moment. And so the decision was made to, approve it. And I think some guidelines of how that process should work.
Yeah,
is
and please, I don't want y'all to mistake this for I think anybody's done anything wrong. I think it's a good thing. It's just that, there will be some financial cost to maintaining another building. And we just need to make sure that everybody,
Insurance, electricity, and
stuff like that, just make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody understands. And
So how would this, this goes into bylaws?
that would be going into the bylaws, yes.
So do we, does it go to full court to be voted to?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to send it to full court to be entered into the bylaws.
I'll make a second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to include this into the bylaws, send to full court to be included in the bylaws. Any questions or discussion?
You're not talking actual cash donations, this is more structured property.
I did not address cash in this policy. That would probably be more of a question for Chad. Is that something we should add to this, the cash donation? It pretty much has to go through the
Yeah, I mean,
process
the main-
anyway.
I think the main concern here was somebody just goes and puts up a building somewhere and turns it over to the county. There's an ongoing cost that the county has to take on.
That would be no.
Or if somebody donated a vehicle.
Or donate a vehicle.
Something that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or a piece of it.
this won't be limited to Parks and Rec, even though that was what brought it up, but it won't be limited to that.
Yeah, you could get into intergovernmental, exchanges as well, like if you had say the school board decided they wanted to give the county,
School bus or something.
right,
Yeah.
for whatever reason to use for whatever, then there needs to be a process to follow so that we make sure that,
Or if the school board wanted to turn over some property to fire department, to the county for the fire department.
right, same,
That's been,
same type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because there will be a recurring cost down the road and it needs to be considered, so. Yep.
Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Where's this building going to be built?
At the Parks and Rec on Smithville Highway.
Oh, the one
where the ball fields are
Ball
at, the
fields.
county complex on the ball fields are at.
Now, I don't know where on that property. That's part of what,
Over at the end of the football.
in the football field, they said. Any other questions, discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is approved. Next, on the agenda, oversight and ethics, any old business to come before the committee? Hearing none, any new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Stand adjourned.
You stay. Jay, can I have that last one I gave to you? You still have more spare? Yeah, I know. It just doesn't, you can put as much time into it as you.
It goes back to,
It goes right back to the same thing. I try to.
Jay, you ready? All right, we'll call the Budget Committee meeting to order. Our first item of business is approval of the minutes from our May 12th meeting. I entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is discussion over the opioid abatement grant concerning the Sheriff's Department. I'll turn that over to our executive, Mr. Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, the resolution that was sent to the county commission last time for the Sheriff's Department opioid abatement involved me having access to the information provided through the service. I was in need of that information because I have to report to the Opioid Abatement Council. I'm not going to say the Sheriff's Department wasn't comfortable with it, but there may have been some issues, maybe some confidentiality or something, so they were not comfortable with that. So basically my reply to them was, if it's going to be paid for out of opioid money, I've got to have access to the information because I've got to report that information into the Opioid Abatement Council. If they want to fund that out of their funds, there was no need for me to have any access to any information. So that's basically where we've.
So now they are off the grant money, then basically?
I was not told. I give my explanation to the sheriff, and he said he understood. But they did not say whether they have not been reported back to whether they wanted to come out with the opioid abatement funding for that or not.
Okay. Can we,
Yes, I didn't know. Can we ask questions?
give us just a minute, and we'll, yeah.
Okay.
If they move forward with the Power DMS, do we know if they would want that to be a budgeted item for fiscal year 26, or would they just scratch that?
I don't have that answer.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Do you know? Yeah.
Okay. Could we maybe gather some more details and get maybe a
Are we on a time,
representative?
are we on a timeline for funding for this cycle?
What would your earliest report need to be for that, this latest round that was approved?
Well, we're already reporting. I don't know when, I'm not sure when the next one is. It's probably first of the year or something.
Okay. Could we move that to an agenda item for next month and maybe have a representative here? Okay, we'll move on to some budget amendments from this fiscal year 25. Mr. Martin, would you take us through the first of those from the Drug Control Fund?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first budget amendment you have is a budget amendment within committee. It's a $3,000 budget amendment reallocating funds in drug enforcement from animal food and supplies to half of it to confidential drug enforcement and the other half to law enforcement equipment. Again, this would stay within committee.
Okay, you've heard an explanation from Mr. Markham. I'd entertain a motion to approve the amendment. Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, amendment is approved. That stays within committee, doesn't have to go to full court. We have one from the Highway Public Works Fund, which also stays here within committee. Mr. Markham, would you give us the briefing on that one?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a budget amendment, a $27,900 budget amendment, reallocating funds within the four different major categories of the Highway Public Works Fund. Basically, we're just reallocating funds to correspond with expenditures inside those major categories for fiscal year 2025, projected expenditures for fiscal year 2025. There's no new money here.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we move on. One more from the Highway Department that will go to the full commission. Mr. Markle.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. This is a budget amendment recognizing some additional state aid funding and allocations to finish out our fiscal year projections here. It's also, if you remember last month, we closed the Capital Projects Fund for the Highway Department for the bridges, and so it's reallocating some of those funds. It's for highway equipment toward the state aid projects, also asphalt and salt and rock to cover expenditures for the remaining fiscal year.
Okay, you've heard an explanation. I entertain a motion to approve.
Is this contingent on full court?
Yes, yeah, this one will go to the full commission.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to fiscal year 2026 budget conversations. We've got most of our commissioners here tonight that are not on the budget committee. You guys should have received kind of a, we'll call it a contingency packet that you'll see there. And I'm going to allow Mr. Markham to give us a rundown, kind of the origin of this document, where it came from and what's contained within it. And then we need to have some open discussion regarding where we're going to land at the end of the night tonight. You care to do that for us, Chad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at the end of the work session the other night, I think the consensus was that commissioners were going to send some ideas to me. I had two commissioners that sent information in or provided information that night to me, one or the other. One of them was, you'll see there, it's Commissioner A and then also Commissioner B. Those were the two that I received. One of them was $1.57, one of them was $1.50. You can see that what is included on the first page is salaries and benefits, and then there's a little bit on the second page that's also, or on the back side, that's also salaries and benefits. This is a slimmed down version from the document that we had been providing. I think that was 5 pages. And the reason was, so what was taken out were either things that were not funded or had not been talked about being funded in any of the proposals, or they were planning on being funded in any of the proposals that we've been talking about. So it's really just the items that are different between the two here. So I took that information and I developed I called it compromise number 1. It seems to fall in the middle as far as the property tax rate, but it also seems to take into consideration most of the priorities that the commission has voiced their thoughts over on, not only during the budget process, but over the past year or two, and the way that they want to move forward. So that's where that was developed and how that was developed.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Okay, we'll open the floor for a conversation, and I guess we will start with the appeal of any of these 3 options among the budget committee. And if there is, I'd like to move that conversation out and open this up to the rest of our commissioners that are present.
Commissioner A is me. That was what I took away from the work that we've been doing, $1.57. we've cut 1.4 million, 1.3 out of what we had talked about at $1.70. And I feel like that's where we need to be at to fund the county.
I'm like, with Derek here, if we don't fund it now, it won't happen again. We've pushed this down the road year after year after year, and the additions to this are stuff that we've needed for probably 10 years or more, that we've just never done, because they never seemed to be the right time. And, it's never gonna be the right time. At some point, you're gonna have to, just do what needs to be done in order for our county to prosper and move in the direction that it needs to move. So, that's where I'm at.
I too am at 157. The one thing that concerns me most was that we didn't have anything extra put into debt services. We have a huge amount of costs that the county's going to endure in the next probably decade. We're going to have to worry about the Justice Center, courtrooms, all these things that are being brought up, not to mention animal shelter and all this stuff, and we're not setting ourselves up for that at all. What was it DeKalb County raised theirs just for the jail and everything? Do you remember?
They raised theirs 51 cents.
51 cents in 1 year just for that. We're not even going anywhere near that, and we're trying to do this and do this over a longer period of time. And I'm at the point where, we come down off of 170 very hard and compromised about as far as we can go. I don't know where else we can cut from unless you go into what we talked about with more salaries. And if you look at the salaries that we've got, some of these, they're still not fixing the thing. It's not a huge raise for everybody. Some people are getting it, but when we look at that, it's not that much money. And we've had so much turnover and so many problems to deal with. I feel like 157 is where we need to be looking at. That's where I feel with it.
Well, we passed the deficit budget last year of $500,000.
Yes, and where are we making that up?
We had to do that last year to fund what we funded. We pulled it from savings to fund it, and
we're not even putting that money back in debt services to make it up.
No.
We can't grow 40% in the county and not add additional services. We need more deputies. We need more deputies' cars. We need ambulances. That's the thing that gets me is, we have 2 ambulances that have over 300,000 miles on them that are steadily on the road. And I know we have some that are coming in hopefully soon, but we don't know when. And I don't know how many cars are out there today that have 300,000 miles on them that are out there that are required to carry somebody's life in them. And that just bothers me immensely. We need to invest in our county. And I'm truly believing that.
So with the full commission, this Commissioner A category that you see there, there's no additional funding from property tax to the schools. There is an additional 1 penny going to the highway department, so that's just shy of $100,000. And then as Commissioner Cranford referred to, there's no money directly going into debt service. However, we did reserve 2 pennies for capital expenditures. And I think the thinking there is if at the end of the year those funds have been unaccounted for, they would move into debt service is the hope. So I'd like to open the floor to you guys and give us some opinions. We've really need to come out of here tonight with something that we think can pass full court in 2 weeks. So your opinion is crucial. Go ahead. Sorry, Commissioner.
So I was Commissioner B, of course. I'm not gonna vote for anything but 150, period.
What were you saying about the schools?
The options A and compromise 1, there's no additional property tax funds going into, Chad, just stop me if I misstep, but we're under maintenance of effort for 36 pennies. So you'll see Commissioner B option has 3 additional. We anticipate our penny to be just over $97,000. So that's almost $300,000 additional in Commissioner B category. The 2 on the fringes there, Commissioner A and Compromise 1, there's no additional funds there. And then same with the Highway Department, just with 2 different, Commissioner B and Compromise 1 have no additional funding going to the Highway Department, but the Commissioner A option does have 1 additional penny.
The 2 pennies in the highway department, 2 pennies is for pay, and the third penny is 100,000, 97,000 for railroads. That's the breakdown of that.
Whenever they said it was over 100 years for what he gets out of the TDOT money to repave all of White County, it would take 100 years. for
Well,
what he
that's,
gets if we don't fund it.
that's the funds that we give right now, about 700,000. Now, there are some state aid funds, but those funds have came down to under $200,000, 138,000?
186,000.
186,000. And we don't anticipate those state aid funds to go up anytime soon.
140,000 pay a mile.
140,000
To pave a mile, and we fund $700,000 a year, and there's 897 miles of county road in White County.
Actually, we don't fund
So-
anything currently.
We don't fund anything.
I'm just going off the pennies that we pour in. You mean directly for paving, I guess.
The gas tax.
We have.
Right, oh, well,
We have
okay,
never put
okay.
in any money in property tax into,
So you're referring, yeah. So you're referring to fuel and severance tax
That's- yeah,
funding
funding
that fund.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we-
that's a good point.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here doing a little bit of math between the options, just to kind of look at, see what the big picture difference was. The difference between the option A and option B would be about a 20% increase, and option A would be about a 23% increase.
Yeah, and compromise 1 is right in the middle at 21%.
Yeah.
That's above the certified state rate.
Right, that's what I was looking
Yeah.
at. But this one is 20%, and this one's 23. 20% is 23%. And that one right there is.
a $300,000 house. The difference between these 2 tax rates is $45.
For the year?
For a year.
What was that?
Yeah.
On a $300,000 home, the price difference we're arguing over between $1.50 and $1.57 is $45 a year.
Did you guys hear that
Between A and B.
discussion?
Between A and B.
He done the math on a $300,000 home, which an average home in the county is $248,200. On a $300,000 home, the difference in option A and option B in taxes is $45 additional dollars a year.
Per year.
Per year.
We do that one more time just to make sure I didn't hit the wrong button.
That sounds right. And the difference in $1.57 and $1.50.
Yeah.
And I'll say again, like I said the other night when we had the work session, I haven't talked to, maybe one person that I've talked to has been somewhat understanding. Everybody else has said any increase is absolutely unacceptable. And so where I'm at is the same place I was before. That's why when we get down and we're talking about option A, option B, or compromise 1, you're removing things, as Commissioner Cranford said, that we've done this for at least the last 8 years that I've been doing it. We've done this every year. And it's not going to matter because we're not, in other words, if there's any increase, it's going to be unacceptable. And I challenge you guys to do what is in my mind. What I'm telling myself is I want to do the right thing. It affects me just like it affects everybody else. And so if the right thing is to fund the things that the county needs to fund, then let's fund the things that the county needs to fund.
I'd thank Commissioner White for those of you that are, if there is a line of demarcation, if there is a line in the sand, like, we need to hear that. And that's really gonna scope how we do everything else for the rest of tonight and the next 2 weeks.
Mine's 157.
Mine's 157.
Mine's 157. We sat up here and listened to these department heads, and we heard what they had to say. We went through all these scenarios. We listened to them talk about it. We put the time in, and we understand where they're at. We've compromised quite a bit from where we thought we had a good number. And I don't agree with just throwing a number out there and saying make it work, because it doesn't work that way. Not if we want to take care of our employees, take care of these things, and do what we're supposed to do. You just don't put a number and say it doesn't work. We put pencil to paper, and every number here makes sense. And that's why I'm stuck at 157. And I challenge anybody and everybody to talk to these department heads and go through it, and these employees.
And at $1.70, we already cut over $1 million, or was it?
17, it's 17%. Is from where you started, from basically when, as he said, when everybody comes in and says, this is what we need to operate, that was $1.70. And now,
No, we cut $1 million out.
It was $1, it was almost $2, and we cut it down to 170.
so from $1.70 to now, that's another 17%. There's been 17% of it removed.
There's just nowhere else to cut unless we're gonna underpay our employees and take away from them. And everybody I know doesn't really want to do that, but that's where we're at. Or we don't add services. That's the only two things that we can do away with it.
Now, when this says salary scale as proposed, is that the original 15% increase?
It's not 15 for everybody. It was a percentage that was set up, and what they did is they restructured some jobs and put it in there. Some people aren't getting 15, some are, but not everybody is.
That's it. You gave us a copy of that three-tiered pay scale for county employees.
For an average county employee, it's 15.24% increase, or $5,334 a year. Is that correct?
So that average is the average of the increases across. So some people are below that, some people are above that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it seemed, when I looked at that three-tier scale, it seemed to, and if I read it right, it seemed to favor longevity a little bit, where you had the first step was a 0 to 4 years, and then the second step was a 4 to 10 year employee, and the third step was a 10 plus year employee. So it was designed around retention, if I understood it right.
Right, the thought process was longevity and experience as well, if they had experience in a similar job.
So, Becky, I may be able to answer your question a little bit here. You did average 15%, but your lower paid, your part-time, we try to bring all part-time people up to $12 an hour. And so that ended up having a 36% increase on people like your convenience center workers and your part-time people. That's what kind of threw that number up.
No.
But as a rule, your every day, 40 hours, 37 and a half, 40 hour weeks, people are not getting a 15% raise. It appears that they're getting, it looks like, I see a 7, I see a 6, who's 13? I see one at 13. I see one at 19, and we have offices that the people inside the office are like, look at his salary, they make the same amount of money per year. Some of them work 40-hour weeks, some of them work 37 and a half hours. So what we did, when we started categorizing these departments, we broke that down into a 40-hour week job, and the ones that were only working 37 and a half, well, technically, we want to decrease their pay, but structure-wise, it's showing them actually having a deficit. So it's to say, I don't really have to answer the question. You know, does it look like overall, on average, it's a 15% pay raise? Yes. But you've got some that are, your part-time that are really moving that needle.
Are you averaging averages, or are you averaging dollars versus people? Because if you're averaging averages, that's a nonsense.
We're averaging the increase in payroll over, or not averaging, you're taking the increase in what we're paying employees this year versus what we paid employees last year.
So that 36% is 6%, throwing them off doesn't mean a thing. It's dollar for, the dollar is the average, not average of averages. I mean, if the average is 15%, the overall average is 15%. Some people will be higher, some people will be lower, but the overall average is 15%, period.
Yes.
That's all there is to it.
I think that's what we said, but.
You kind of try to dance around it.
When you look across the board with the people that fall in the average, if you're wanting to look at the average, is the sheriff's department. The patrol deputies, those guys are going from $20.41 to $23.50, and that's 15.14% for those. That's a big chunk. Patrol sergeants are at 20%. They're going from $21.24 to $25.50. The school resource officers are only going to get about a 13% increase. And that was, we took all those numbers from the surrounding, from the city of Sparta, from Warren County, Cannon County, DeKalb County. That's where those numbers come from. That's still getting them, they're still average. That's not, they're not being paid more than those people are. And those counties are all setting their budgets like we are right now. They're looking to give their employee raises, so you're always a year behind still.
I get it. I personally get it. I do. Our deputies need more. Our EMS needs more. They need the cars. They need the ambulances, and I get that. But I also listen to my people and my heart, and I just can't agree with any of these three. Anything, you know, if you're gonna tax, and I'm not gonna say tax everybody to death, but I mean, if there's gonna be some, I had and I think he said it to Burlington too, I had a convenience center worker this morning tell me, if it means him giving up a raise because they've lived with it this long in order not to raise his taxes, that's what he wanted to do. So I can't agree with $1.50, $1.54, or $1.57 and lay my head down at night and sleep. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say this because I asked if I could ask a question earlier, but like with the sheriff's department, I think that the opioid question there, in situations like there where Mr. Hastings or Mr. Robertson doesn't want to, he's the one who has to report, the sheriff's department has the ability to report that directly so there's no confidentiality, so the money's not taken away. So when you're looking at grants like that, if you can give some of the power back to the departments so that the departments can report that information and you're not crossing lines, then that money can still come into those departments. And then I had a question of the budget that you guys are looking at, is that something that the whole county can look at, or is that just, like, we all give us ideas of what you're, I mean, we're listening, but is that printed somewhere, is it public somewhere?
It is public, and we have to publish, I believe, 10 days before it is voted on, it is published in the local newspaper.
Okay.
And that's a state law.
I have searched and searched and cannot find it.
I can't answer that it's online because it's in flux so much. After every meeting, it gets changed. It would be very hard to keep up with it online.
If we pass something tonight, if the budget passes something tonight that's in the full court, that's what's printed in the newspaper, and you'll be able to see that. But right now, we're going back and forth between so much, we can't print or post because we don't know where we're at.
Right, and I know that you guys are just looking at this, but I think that too would help the public understand where you're coming from. And I know that they can call their county commissioners, but there's one county commissioner for how many residents. But like I said, with the opioid thing earlier, that's the reason why I wanted to bring it up then. The sheriff's department doesn't have to lose that money because he's the one who wants to report the numbers. He can give that control back to Sheriff Page, and Sheriff Page can have them report the numbers to be able to get that grant money. And that works for
But we're
any
talking about
grants.
$10,000. That's not going to do anything to this
But
budget.
it's not just that particular grant, it's the click it or ticket grants, it's all the grants. You don't have to be the one in control of reporting the numbers
I don't do
in
click
order
it or
to be able
ticket.
to get that money for your sheriff's department, sir.
The only thing we're talking about is the opioid grant, and I do have to report that.
Okay. Actually, he can report that, but I'm not gonna argue with you, I'm just saying.
I'm responsible for it, I guess. I should say.
Relinquishing a little bit of control and making sure someone else does their job versus doing it yourself and being a problem. There's two different things, sir, I'm sorry. The last thing is, where is raising property taxes on 47% of your people the only way that the county's making money? Or is it permits, building permits? Where's the extra money from the building permits?
Well, if you'll see one of us after we're done, we'll talk to you a little bit more about the breakdown
Well, I
of
don't think I'm
sales
the only one
tax.
though, sir, that has those questions.
I understand, but we've really got to make some
Okay.
progress tonight,
Thank
or
you.
we're not going to have a budget
Thank you.
approved by July 1st.
Can I ask a question?
So we will have public comment at the end.
The end last time was 2 hours.
It might be 2 hours. We do have a lot to work
about
through.
property taxes tonight only. No,
That's the feedback I'd love to get from Commissioner Golden. I think you were were you finished with your?
I was finished.
So the feedback from Commissioner White, Commissioner Golden, I guess the next step would be, where would we like to see the cuts come from so we can?
I'm not making a suggestion, it's just as things come, I like to discuss them. You know, a way to cut substantially, and I'm not saying I'm for this, please don't take this for what it's saying. We could rescind or go away from the scaled pay tier and just do an across the board raise. You know, and I'm not saying we do this, I'm just saying if we do the numbers real quick, 2.2 million we're looking at doing for the employees, the pay scale, the longevity. If we did a 12% raise across the board, that's roughly 1.2 million. That would save 10 pennies right there. I'm not saying we're proposing that, I'm just saying right there is 10 pennies if we just did an across the board raise instead of switch to a pay scale. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, that's just what some quick math does.
If any of the budget committee, wants to defend the tiered.
And I understand the tier too.
Yeah.
I do, I promise.
I feel like the tier is the way to go because I've been told several times about how certain employees are not paid accordingly to other people and doing this stuff and setting it up. And I think we did a fantastic job of creating this tier. I looked at trying to reduce it. That's what I spent a lot of time trying to get it down. But when you do that, then it goes down to where, once again, we're talking about employees being paid they could make more money going to McDonald's or someplace else that doesn't give them the loyalty to here. You know, we already, if you look at some of the positions that are out there, and this was set up in with this, and I did do a lot of research on some of these positions, these employees could make a lot more money going to other places, and we would have a hard time replacing them. And that's what I'm concerned about. I would like to take care of the employees, give them something that shows them that we do value them. You know, it's easy to say, real easy to say, oh, well, that's not my problem. We don't need to raise and do this for them. But when their supervisor is telling us that they have to loan money to them for them to pay their bills or to come to work, get gas money, that says a lot to me. And I'm trying to fix that. And that's why we talked about this and setting this up, is because I don't want our employees to live below where they should be, especially when we have this opportunity to make it right. And we all saw this, we all looked at it, and everybody looked at it and said, wow, that's pretty nice. That's a nice setup. And it's really in line with the surrounding counties that are doing the same thing. So we just have to make a line. Are we gonna sit here and not take it in and do more of the same and watch these people leave and create a bigger problem down the road? Or are we gonna do our jobs that we were asked to do and take care of these guys like what we said we would? I mean, I'm putting, and to God, I respect it, I totally do, and I get it. But what I'm saying is, we've said this for years now and done nothing for it. The previous commissions have all failed, and including last year when we passed a deficit budget. I'm at the point where we're like, hey, we did something that is fair and logical, and we have a chance to make it right. And I truly believe we can do that. My 2 cents.
Could I ask a question, please?
We'll have public comment at the end.
After the budget's been approved, we would like.
No, the budget will be voted on June the 16th if we can get it out of this committee tonight, hopefully.
Commissioner Daniels, where you at?
Just gonna throw it out here, I like his idea.
I think you need, somebody needs to make a motion to send them to full court.
I'm gonna make a motion to send $1.57 to full court.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to send, now, when you say, Chad, help me with the wording here. Are you looking for this entire budget as proposed under Commissioner A?
Commissioner A, yes.
And with everything that is all the breakdown and allocations to funds?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion among the committee?
Why would you do that right there knowing it's gonna fail?
We don't know what's gonna fail. We've heard from 3 people.
I mean, it's ridiculous. 157 right there is, 154. So I say I don't wanna say nothing, but I'm just gonna tell you. You say, well, where are you gonna cut the budget at? And I'm not gonna step on nobody's toes, but I'm just saying right here is wasteful spending, and I'll leave it at that.
Where at? Show us.
That's what I want to do. Everybody's got an opinion. Back it up with some knowledge. Let's see where it's at.
I'm just saying.
What you're just saying, I'm just saying, where's it at?
And I'll read what you're saying right there is, but the last 3 years right there is, we spent money right there we shouldn't ever spend. We right there, you know, just like that, the rock house over that piece of ground, you know. Why would we buy that for the state right there is when we didn't have money to buy it for? Let the state buy it.
They are buying it.
They are. It was just a pass through from the county. Y'all wanna go ahead and pass it right there, is, but like I say, it's just, I just feel like it's gonna.
Well, you're not gonna vote for it. I'm not gonna vote for it.
Yeah, I will not vote for it right there.
And I'm not gonna vote for $1.50 or $1.45 either.
That's why I
So I mean,
say,
we all have opinions.
I just asked the question, why would you put something on there full court when you know it's gonna fail?
I got a question. I'd like to know where anybody could cut that doesn't, where these numbers are coming from. Where do you feel you need to cut it?
Just like the code said, that right there is a pretty good way, a few ways to cut it right there.
Cut the payroll for it. That was the.
Cut the payroll.
Cut the payroll.
So you want to cut the payroll?
Just kick that can again.
Don't say my bad. I mean, you're giving it, I mean, that's I'll agree with Commissioner Brewington a little bit. My trepidation is we're gonna do this and it is gonna fail, and then we're gonna be right back here looking at you guys saying, will you please tell us what to do? So, I mean, at least, the thought is, at least you've got something for us. So I'm working my hardest to avoid on June the 16th, there's no budget passed. Because then on June the 17th, we'll be here doing this again.
You know, you're gonna raise property taxes up 20, 21%, whatever.
So what is your,
What if you're gonna end up giving them a 15% raise, but then we're gonna take that 15% raise and pay them their taxes when it ain't gonna be no raise? I mean, am I wrong? Am I thinking something wrong here?
Yeah. Yes, we're talking about the average
$40 a year difference.
I understand that.
This pay is gonna be a lot more than $40. That'll be a week's or a month's pay. That's 11 months in the plus. That's a huge difference, Chris.
I'm just saying.
do you have a line as far as that number? Do you have a line of
As far as the line right there is?
Yeah, the number.
I'm below 50. I'm at 130, 135.
But what are you basing that on? If you say, I was gonna ask you that a minute ago, when you said that was the line, what is that based on? Is that just a number? It's like, okay, this is my cutoff, or is there data to back that up to say, okay, this is where I want to be based on these things?
Dakota provided his data.
I really did, I promise. We had and it was a wonderful conversation when we had the working session. It was really great, there's a lot of work done, and that's exactly why we're all sitting here.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor. So we're gonna have to call to a vote pretty soon. I would do last call of the commissioners that are here. Commissioner Rogers?
I mean, I just have a few questions. You know, last year, majority of this budget committee was the same. Could have done it last year. And I can't remember the last time a balanced budget was passed. Just curious, what's the purpose of, why are we doing this all 1 year? I know you know, that's my biggest thing.
Okay, next year, are you gonna be willing to raise it again and have these people in here mad at you again? Then the following year, raise it a little more again, same thing. It's never gonna be the right time to do it.
I'd rather do that as all at once.
Well, TK, we represent them.
I'll say.
I agree, we represent them, we do. And that being said, we are to represent them to provide services that this 157 is going to provide. This 150 is not going to provide the services that need to be provided for. That's the thing. At what point we're holding the county back from growth? At the point whenever, you know, we're missing ambulance runs and all of that, then these people are going to be up here saying, you know, well, you should have foreseen this. You should have provided us with another ambulance, and you didn't. You failed us. That's exactly what's going to happen.
You're failing some of us now.
We sat here last year and with, just like this, and we said, we're gonna pass the deficit budget, and are y'all willing to make up for it next year? Because that's what had to happen, and nobody up there said, let's raise taxes this year so we don't have to next year.
We've been doing it for the last 8 years. We've been doing that same thing for the last 8 years.
That is correct.
Do you, I mean,
And
we've got a motion on the floor.
We just talked about the difference between,
What's the difference between?
What are we gonna do if we don't
Okay.
get it?
hey, Mr. Chairman, we've got a good example. We got a good example of kind of like what we're beating around. And I'm gonna put him on the spot here and speak for him. He's done the math on his own personal property. Okay, the difference in the $1.50 and the $1.57 is $3.60 something per year.
$3.91 a month.
$3.91 a month. $3.91 a month is the difference between $1.50 and $1.57 per year.
Those are my taxes.
They're not my taxes.
He said a month.
$3 a month, is that what you said?
Yeah, and the thing about it is and here's where most people are, and that's why I said that a minute ago. Unless you put it at, unless you guys send a budget, unless we pass a budget that is at the certified rate, that does not increase property taxes, the public is not gonna be happy. Am I saying something wrong?
No,
That's what it should be.
You're not saying what we're gonna lose. The guy up there, I can't see him, but he keeps saying, if I go from 157 to 150, you're gonna lose all these services, but you haven't told us what
It's
I
deputies.
physically lose if I didn't.
It's EMS employees, it's sheriff's.
You would stop them now.
No, sir. Right now we've got
We need
three.
to add an ambulance. We've had 40% growth, and we're trying to add sheriff's deputies, cars, ambulances, and paramedics to ride those. They all cost, that's what we're trying to get. That's the difference in the 7 cents that we're talking.
Let's clear the, okay, let's clear the motion on the floor.
Where have you had 40%?
There's no, who made the motion?
I did.
There, no amendments after you've heard feedback, correct? We're voting on your original motion. Mr. Markham, can we do a roll call, please?
All right, roll call vote. Derek Hutchings.
Yes.
TK Austin.
Yes.
Dean Wayne Robinson.
I don't think it's gonna pass, so I'm gonna say no.
Kyle Goff.
No.
David Cranford.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Any other discussion over the, the 2026 budget?
I mean, I'm happy to go over the cuts. I mean, the audience is asking.
Let's do this.
Yes, sir.
Let's do this.
Just real quick.
Hold on just a second. I'm gonna try to expedite and get to public comment. Is there any old business we need to discuss? Is there any new business? New business among the commissioners that are here with us? Okay, we're gonna move to public comment. Before we move into public comment, let's go ahead and run down the cuts that you were.
From $1.57 to $1.50, we have allocated a full-time EMA director. Right now, we currently have a part-time EMA director, which is emergency management, fire department, if you will. He would stay part-time, he would not be full-time. We are losing an office assistant to the county executive. We are losing 4 positions at the EMS office, and you have to have 4 positions at the EMS for a shift. We can't do 1 or 2 or 3, you have to have 4 for a shift. We're losing an assistant EMA director at the sheriff. EMS director, I'm sorry. We are losing 4 patrol deputies. We are losing.
One note there, Commissioner Hutchings, we haven't added a deputy since 2006.
And when I say losing, that's addition to what we currently have. And 2 mechanics at central maintenance. Central maintenance increase on their budget equipment line because we continue to have more and more costly repairs. Mainly because we're subbing that work out. We don't have enough mechanics to work on the equipment at our $20 an hour, so we're having to send them to the mechanics at dealerships that are making whatever they're making, $50 an hour or whatever.
And 2 remounts.
Two remounts on our ambulances, that is correct. Those are the remounts on ambulance are $210,000 a piece. We're losing 2 of those, so if we don't have remounts means it's not a new one, it's a used one. They're getting a new truck, but the box is used, and they're refurbishing that box and putting it back on there. And that's just saying we're not doing that at all. And like Mr. Cranford said, we've got 2 over 300,000 miles on them. They continue in service, they break down, then we're not replacing them. And I know there was some comments on Facebook and says, well, we just got a brand new one, why do we have to do that? But there's a 3-year rotation on ambulances. If you order one today, you'll get it in 3 years. If we say we got one this year, we're good to go. Well, if we don't order one, and 3 years down the road, all of our ambulances are old and we can't get any, we're sitting there with all, there's a rotation, you have to keep that rotation going to keep everything. It's like the sheriff's department. We're giving them 3 vehicles out of the budget, and we have to fund him 3 vehicles every year. If we don't, if we stop that, then all of his patrol cars get old and they're broke down, and then we're having to buy 10 in 1 year, or whatever that is. So we have to, it's a rotation that we have to maintain. And those were that's the $1.50 to $1.57, those cuts.
So what are you gaining from 121 to 150?
So you're gaining from 121 to 157. As discussed, there's $2.2 million in salary increases, $154,000 in longevity pay for the employees. There's just a simple increase in medical insurance of $108,000 that we have to fund. You're getting a full-time EMA director, a full-time Parks and Recreation director. The 4 positions at the EMS, he's getting an assistant director to help the director, the 2 patrol deputies, 2 mechanics at central maintenance. We have increase in vehicle equipment parts, $250,000. Just tires and tubes, just equipment. We've got all these line items for central maintenance, just for equipment. The county's operating on a 2020 budget. We're funding 2020 prices. Fuel costs have went up, parts has went up, equipment, everything has went up.
Cost has gone down since 2020, last year, for sure.
Chad, do you remember how much an ambulance was? Or a patrol car in 2020 was about 50,000. It's about 75 or 85 now. We've ate those. We've budgeted and scrimped, and we've ate all of those increases in cost for the last 4 years. And we've not had a single increase in taxes in 4 years, and we've had to fund those items. Fuel went up. All of that stuff has gone up, and we've toed the line, and we've funded out of our current budget, and we can't, the county can't survive anymore on a 2020 budget.
Okay, we'll have, audience members can come up to the podium, one at a time. If you'll state your name and your address, we'll be able to affiliate your commissioner. And you'll have 3 minutes to address the budget committee.
I'm going to read a statement I have here. I hadn't heard anything that's changed my mind. And this addressed a lot of stuff I've already heard. My name is Gerald Bray. I'm in District 7. I've had conversations with some of you, some good, some bad, but it's the way it is. Everybody has an opinion. Commissioners, I thank you for the opportunity to address you today on the matter before us, the budget, and in the trust and governance, a principle at the heart of our constitutional republic and foundation upon which effective leadership is built. Trust is not merely a sentiment, it is a bond forged by transparency, accountability, and a shared commitment to the common good. We've been told by various members of the commission the reasons why we feel we need a 30 to 40% increase in our property tax. We've been told about a proposed sales tax that was voted down. How would it have generated enough income to offset the need to raise property taxes? Quote, we put it on the ballot 3 times and it failed all 3 times, and it was, when we run it, it was about 800,000 in revenue that we per month. That's the way transcript came down. I'm sure that meant a year, but okay. We have been told our property values have increased because of what the homes around us have sold for. I can show you a neighborhood where almost all the homes are appraised by the county 20 to 60,000 above market value. And another home in the same neighborhood, $50,000 below market value. We hear, I'm 99% sure since 2021, the largest annual pay raise for this county employees has been 5% in 1 year, 3% in another. I think a couple of years they didn't give one at all. We've grown, I know we've had 30% growth in the last 5 years. We just heard 40% a while ago. I'd like to see where those numbers are coming from. None of these statements are completely true. There's somewhat truth in them, but they're not completely true. I have numbers from public records to back that up. Those direct quotes were copied from posts and transcripts. I didn't make them up. They're your quotes. Trust in governance is vital for the success of any community. It ensures that citizens feel confident their voices are heard, their concerns are addressed, and their well-being prioritized. Without trust, even the most well-intentioned policies risk being met with skepticism, reducing their effectiveness, and diminishing civic engagement. When citizens trust their leaders, they are more likely to collaborate, participate in governance processes, and support community initiatives. Trust fosters resilience, allowing communities to navigate challenges with unity and resolve. To cultivate trust within our governance structures, we must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity and fairness. This begins with a commitment to the following principles: transparency, be clear and open in decision-making processes. By sharing the rationale behind policies and providing accessible information, we empower citizens to remain informed and engaged. We have partial on that.
Sir, we're well over the 3-minute mark. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And that's why.
Well, I want to get to the line behind you. Thank you, though.
Mr. Gray, I'll say that I probably had 10 or 15 emails with you over the last week.
And you and I'm not, but the rest of these people have no clue. If I can tell you about the people I've talked to, you understand.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Denise Daniels, Charles Hennessy Road. I'd just like to say that I retired this year, but in all of my work years since I was in high school, never was I given a 15% raise. I have to live, or I always had to work outside of this county for 25 years because there's no jobs here. Maybe we need to look at some industry in here. My son and daughter-in-law has to work outside this county because there's no industry in this county. We depend on the hospital and some land taxes, which there's a lot of farmland that is now subdivisions, and that's coming up on a year, so you should be getting that money in also. It's not like we now, we don't, most of these people are retired, not all, but your biggest part of your county, probably at least half, and we're on fixed incomes. So I don't know how y'all think we're gonna pay this big jump in taxes when I've got 11 and a half acres that sits in water and got sinkholes in it. And it went up 100,000. That's ridiculous. And yes, I do have a board meeting tomorrow with the land board. But I mean, that is ridiculous. I hope people know they can do that and bulk up against some of these raises that we got, because my taxes also went up last year, and the girl told me, no, they did not go up. And I said, I'm looking at the tax records right here. It went up in 24, and it went up in 25.
Did you have improvements to your property?
No. It went up on 11.5 acres that stands in water full of sinkholes.
Sure.
That land can be done, nothing can be done with that land. We run a cow on it, a couple of cows, and that's about it. Because you can't even run the cattle in the land that holds the most water. You can't even do that.
Every
They'll
time it
sink in.
rains, it floods. Every
Yes,
time.
exactly. Charles Hennessy Road is full of sinkholes and lowlands. There's a house in the subdivision, a Finley subdivision, that's underwater half the time. So, thank you for letting me speak, but think about bringing some industry in here to try to help fund some of this. You could get major money from industry, and we have none. That's why we all go to Cookville for agriculture.
My name is Megan Starr. I live at 127 North Main Street, which is also where I run my new business. That's why I so much love to follow it.
What's your business?
The Bakery at 1871. So I am one of these 30 to 40, depending on the number you hear, build up or increase in your population over the last few years. My husband and I moved here about 4 years ago. In that time, and I should tell you, I spent 30 years in real estate appraisal. I want to address this on two factors, if I can do within my 3 minutes. As a personal factor, our property assessment value went up 87.3%. That is not the 75%. I can also tell you definitively, and with 30 years of historical knowledge, that there is no buyer here or anywhere else coming here from any state that would pay the amount of money that our properties are taxed for. On top of that, the property has been reallocated to partially commercial. So that 87% increase in assessed value is only a portion of the property because we have been rezoned for the part where the public comes into the bakery at a commercial rate, which, as you well know, is taxed at 40%, not 25%. So my taxes, when I say they went up 87%, is just on the residential portion of our building. Obviously an amount that no one would pay for. And yet here I am, as the assessor put out a notice on Facebook with his new rate saying he adjusted this, and that the 75% would be basically offset. That was also a very fraudulent number, given the fact that if that were true, at the $1.21, my taxes would go up 9%. And while 9% may not feel like much, my house is now assessed for almost $800,000. And if I could pay that for it, this would be a very different world we're all living in. So the fact that someone somewhere thinks that we can pay the taxes on that. So let me address that from the other portion, because I want to talk about the industry here. We moved here with a dream to open up a bakery. We bought a house intentionally in downtown Sparta to help this. We moved in, we opened up to the public, we followed all of the accordances and needs to do so, and we built a massive, massive demand of people coming in there. And it has been wildly successful. Despite that, I cannot afford to hire. I work 18 to 22 hours a day, 6 days a week, and on that 7th day a week, I go to Costco to buy ingredients up in another county. And during all of this, while I have a massive amount of compassion for employees of the county getting what they are due, the rest of us are not. The retired people aren't getting a 15% increase to pay these taxes. The business owners that are fighting every day in this city and this county to be able to make it and keep our doors open. You have no idea the fight that we go to behind those doors just to keep them open. To desperately try to keep an employee here. So when we talk about industry failing and we talk about tax dollars not coming in, well, let me tell you, I'm one of the 40% growth in this county. My tax dollars are now coming in. So if you have increased your development by 40%, you're bringing in more tax dollars in residential property taxes, commercial property taxes, personal property taxes, vehicle taxes. Across the board, your taxes have increased. On top of that, they've increased in many accounts that I've found on basically fraudulent values of assessment. And all of this, every bit of this comes at the expense of people like me who are killing themselves to make a go of making Sparta fantastic, to make it more than a place where you can go work at minimum wage at Walmart or McDonald's, to bring in industry, to bring in people, to bring in care, to keep this fantastic. And this rate, even going up to 150, means that not only will I not be able to hire in the next few years, but I probably will not be able to keep up the pace I'm keeping up. So when we're talking about county employees not getting their extra 15%, which I would love to pay them, we're also talking about killing the dreams, the lives, the livelihood, the financial stability of all of the people who are writing those checks. So while we're sitting up here arguing within amongst yourselves about what is and isn't okay to cut, who should and shouldn't get 15%, you are asking for it from people who are killing themselves to write 1 cent more.
We're in that group too, just so everybody knows.
I know some of you are. I've heard you.
We all live in the county and pay taxes too.
So why aren't we looking to build industry? Why aren't we doing exactly what this woman over here said? Why aren't we creating ways to build good small businesses? We have a handful of them going in at every time, and yet they're failing, and I can tell you exactly why. Don't kill the backbone of your society. It's suicide. Don't kill the care, don't kill the community.
Thank you.
My name is Dana Ellis. I live on Cooper Street. I have all the empathy in the world for you guys that are trying to do what you feel is right. And I don't know that you nor anyone have a lot of the answers. I want to know that you all are struggling to try to do right. And so I've got some questions, and I don't mean it to sound like that I don't think you have addressed these. Some of this is just self-education, if you'll bear with me. A couple of things that I have noted, that the county owns various pieces of property, and I don't advocate liquidating assets for an undue reason. That's not what we need to do, but we do have some pieces of property that I've noted. I'm not sure why we own all of these, such as Doe Creek Lake property. I think there's like 19 pieces of property the county owns. Why haven't those been sold so we could interject those funds into our budget? The county owns mineral rights to a piece of property that says Route 7, wherever that is. And the actual value of those mineral rights was $558,000. What good do those mineral rights provide for the county? I'm not saying they don't, I'm just asking, what do they do that we can't also sell those mineral rights and interject here again, money into the budget that will help take care of these increases or offset the cost of property tax increase. I know you said we're going to get another $2 million on the landfill sale. You know, that is money hopefully we will get and continue to get. Have we looked at that as a possible means of being able to provide these services without having to raise the tax rate? And I don't know, I know that also that with the first $2 million, we liquidated a $1 million debt. That, here again, interjects funds into the budget because we're not having to spend that outflow. So we've got some inflow simply from that in a way. I I'm just trying to figure out why, or if there are some ways we can generate more money to provide some of the services that we want to provide, even the raises we want to give. I've worked all my life, I was happy to get a raise, I mean, I wanted one. But I want us to look at all avenues to see if there's other ways we've got cash flow that can help us meet the needs without raising the property taxes, because much like the young lady just said here a minute ago, I'm on a fixed income, everybody's on fixed income retirement, but it's so hard for us to interject more money to those people that well deserve it, probably in the way of raises. But, yes.
No, I don't think I can litigate out, I don't have any info on the mineral rights or anything like that, but I will say the landfill money, I believe you said 8 million?
No,
Is that the
you
number?
said, you said earlier, 2 million.
Well, you were referring to a later on.
Yeah, a
Oh,
later
okay.
on.
So we don't anticipate those funds from, it could be as late as 2032. We'll get that money when the waste management company permits the rest of the property up there that is owned
It's
by
not,
them.
they got to permit the entire property?
That's the step, that's phase 2. So phase 1 was permitting the sale that we have been working on for several
Right.
years. I think they're getting fairly close to having that process
So the
complete,
county
right?
doesn't actually realize any money until?
We will, once they get that first permit.
Okay.
Then they'll be able to take trash. We anticipate about 2,000 tons a day, and
Yeah.
we're getting paid per ton.
Right, per
And
ton.
we expect about $650,000 a year
Are you
once that
saying that's
starts.
still not going to be realized until 2032, or am I missing?
No, I'm talking about the larger chunk. They will pay us a success fee, which is just a larger
So we
chunk.
won't get the 2 million until it's all
Now, there's another.
Is that right?
There's
There's
another
another-
million coming
Later,
in.
Once they-
In the next year, we think, when they permit.
permit one sale, is that what you're saying? When you permit one sale, then they're going to provide us with the $2 million, am I got that right? So is that not a way to also offset some of this? I mean, I guess, I don't need to second guess you guys.
We don't know when we're gonna get that.
Yeah,
We-
and I
we can't
understand, you can't always depend on.
And another thing, everything that you have brought up could be used in the budget, but it cannot be used for anything that is considered maintenance of effort, which maintenance of effort is a reoccurring.
Yes, I understand what you're, I understand.
This year, it's gotta go next year.
But here's what I'm saying is, if we need a new ambulance, okay, we need a new ambulance, that is not always a reoccurring charge. Yes, we've got to fork out the money to buy that ambulance, okay? I follow it. So if we have the money somewhere over here that we can buy that ambulance, then that frees up the money to be able to give the raises, is what I'm
Well,
saying.
the ambulances that are in this are not a reoccurring debt either.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm not gonna argue with you that
No,
you need to use it, but I mean, it's something that.
So we can't take money and buy an ambulance and then sort of reallocate somewhere?
We
Is that-
could, but what do we
You
do
could-
next year?
Well, we
in regard to
can't,
that?
we don't have it allocated right now. That'll be part of the budget money next year.
Okay.
Like, I get what you're saying, and I try to look 5 years ahead too.
Yeah, I
That's money that's
appreciate that.
coming.
Yes, you have to.
That we can pass this budget and not have to raise taxes next year, because all of that stuff it just keeps coming. They're gonna come back, every department's gonna come back next year and want more money for their employees next year too.
Well, one mention there too is that our growth should increase our revenue in the way of taxes, should it not?
So how that works, and I may butcher this, we've averaged $200,000 in property tax income in a year is about what we average on those new homes, because I was confused about that too. So if all those new homes, Sam Lankford's farm got subdivided, there's a bunch of farms, Bill Johnson's, all they get subdivided, right? So it's a farm, it's on Greenbelt. It comes off of Greenbelt, and the Greenbelt is a reduced price of
Yeah, I know.
25%.
I know.
So that money, when it comes off, they go back 3 years and collect that money from the farmer. He has to pay back 3 years of that difference of the Greenbelt and the 25%. Well, then it gets assessed, they build a $250,000 house on it, right?
Okay.
1,200 square foot home, selling for $250,000. So it's a brand new home, right? So you think, well, we're going to get tax revenue on $250,000, that's what you would think. Well, that home was assessed in 2020
Right.
at $130,000.
No, the home wasn't, because it wasn't built then.
But that's what they have to go by. They have to go by the appraisal of that home in 2020. So the tax rate on that home that the person is trying to check $250,000 for, the tax rate that they're paying on is $130 or $140, whatever.
Yeah, but your tax rate's $2.05.
And it is, and that's where that $200,000 comes in. That's where that generates at. That home is not captured at the $250,000 until reappraisal. And then everybody's tax rate goes down to this $1.21 and we start,
Yeah.
and we take back off again.
Yeah.
And I know there's been several people say, well, mine's above that. The $1.21 is at an average, right? There's some that's gonna be above it and some's gonna be below it. Like farm values, there's something with farms that they can't increase more than 52% in value or something. Junior told me something about farms. Farms can't appreciate at the same ratio as a home. So the farms only appreciated at 52%, so that brings that average down. That's where the average comes in at. The farms are appreciated at a lower rate than the homes are. So a lot of people are seeing an 80 or 85% increase in their home values. And $1.21, they are going to see a small increase.
But that's not necessarily the certified rate. We don't know what the certified rate is.
Yeah, we're talking that it is, like the lady that spoke earlier, she's got an appeal tomorrow. So all the appeals go through. One lady, maybe this one that spoke earlier, she messaged me and Mr. Jones and said that she has an appraisal that's $40,000 less than what the county new rate is, and Junior said if she would bring that appraisal to him, he would accept that. So that's $40,000 that comes off of the average, and that has to go through the process for us to get our certified rate.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We're estimating at $1.21, it could be, obviously people are appealing that it's going to be less, so it's probably going to be a little bit less than that. But that's the average that we have to go by off of.
What about, just like I said, what about the Doe Creek property that the county owns?
Those were inherited by tax sales where people didn't pay their taxes.
But I know, but why they
went to auction, nobody bought them.
But why isn't the county actively trying to sell those?
The county has to, and if you don't mind, can I address the mineral rights too? They fall in the same category.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The county, we're under what's called the 81 Financial Act. The only way we can dispose of any property is by public auction. We can't like put a for sale sign and say it's for sale. We have to dispose of it at public auction. So every so often we put these properties up for sale in public auction. If somebody buys them, of course, they have to purchase for what's owed on them. And if we don't get that, then we can't sell them and it remains in our inventory. Mineral rights. Now, this is a decision I made, so you can't blame these guys for this. We own mineral rights because back in, I don't know when it was, I'm going to say the 20s or something, when the coal companies were big in business and stuff up on the mountain. They own mineral rights to large acreages on the mountain. Over the years, these properties have been sold off to individual people. And the county then, when the companies left, they quit paying the property tax on the mineral rights, and they went up for auction and nobody bought them. Nobody bought the majority of them. They just some that's owned by them. That rolled back then to the county. So now we're at this point, I've got people that live on the mountain that the county has their mineral rights to. The only way I can get rid of that the same way is by public auction. So I'm not going to say you because you don't live up there, but somebody that lives on the house, I'm putting their mineral rights to the property that they bought
up for auction that somebody else from,
Timbuktu might buy.
yeah. and
I understand that.
I'm not comfortable with doing that. I don't want to sell somebody's mineral rights so that's why our mineral rights are not for sale. There's a legal process that the people can go through.
Yeah, to get those back.
To get those back, and I allow them to do that.
Yeah, I know. I figured that. So how does the county ever be able to get rid of this property that's sitting up there that's not being taxed, not a property value on them, and we're just sitting there holding them? How do you get rid of those?
We put them up for auction every so often, and nobody buys them. The problem with Oak Creek Loop is because there's a whole big story, but I can get up. But that goes into why we got the planning commission now and roads and all this, because the developer came in and did all this stuff and then went bankrupt and left.
Yeah.
And the roads never got completed, and so there's no access, and so people got.
And I got clarification. Farm sales average were up 52% this year, but Greenbelt properties can only go up 30%. So they were froze at a 30% increase. Even though the sales dictated a 52% increase, Greenbelt says, I guess that's the state's law, state says they can only go up 30%. So that really drove the average down.
You having said that frozen brings up another question, and I don't know, maybe I shouldn't bring it up here, but for us senior citizens, is there any possibility of the property tax rate ever get frozen? I'm not saying it's 65, let's say 70, put an age limit that once that value, it can't be increased every year for us that don't get a 15% raise every year. Is that something that has to come from the county or state level, or?
That's a very good question.
Okay.
The short answer is yes. I haven't come up to now, but I am currently researching how that works and how, matter of fact, I've got a call scheduled tomorrow with some people to figure out how that works. So it is something that can be done. I'm learning the process.
Based on what I read anyway, it's 65 years old and below $36,000 a year. Income of below $36,000 a year.
But that's just when you get a reduced rate.
Yeah, that's a reduced rate.
Yeah, I'm not talking about.
She's asking about freezing the value of the property.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, it doesn't freeze the value, it freezes the amount of tax.
Yeah, amount of taxes is paid.
That would be a legislator. They introduced a bill in 2024 to address that, but I don't think it's made any traction.
I think it should be based on how long you've owned the property.
I agree. I think it should too.
We have generation partners right here that should be able to have it.
It does, I agree.
Yes.
No, I just said thank you.
Thank you guys.
My name is William Chiplow, 125 Autumn Court here in Sparta. First thing I'd like to start with, you cut this gentleman off at 3 minutes and she had 16 minutes and 28 seconds. That is not fair to everyone.
There was a lot of dialogue among this group.
It's not fair to everybody. If you're going to make the rule follow it, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I was actually pausing as this group was speaking.
I calculated. Okay. So part of the question that she had was, how do we stop property taxes on someone who is a certain age and has a certain income? In California, they have Prop 19. If you were 60 years old and you were retired and you were following a certain number, the state said your property taxes are frozen. I had a great uncle who paid $300 a year in property taxes on $1 million property when I was paying $16,000 a year. So the option is there. The state can't do that. How often is property reassessments done in this county?
5 years.
When was the last one?
2020.
Okay, that's why it's going up so much.
They left it the same.
Is the county receiving any money, least money, from the landfill on a yearly basis until they get this balloon payment beyond 2030? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, I'm just going to keep them short and sweet. There's a lot of people, including myself, who are retired in this room, who are on a budget. 15%, 25%, whatever these numbers are, where are they published so that we as the public can go look at the raw data? Because I heard a lot of information out here, and none of it sound like they jive with any other person.
We didn't, we weren't in
Now go
congruence.
look at the raw data. As a citizen, as a Page County tax.
The budget's on the county website.
All of the raw data.
Yeah, I mean, Chad, do you publish it in the same form that?
No,
It
the previous
comes to-
years was on the state comptroller's.
I don't want previous years, what about this year's?
Well, we haven't.
There's not proposed.
Okay.
So, I think the question you're asking is, the budget committee passed a suggested $1.57.
Yes.
If that is what will be posted in the news, like, that will be posted in the newspaper before we go to full court on June 16th
No, yeah.
to vote on. That will be posted. What comes out of budget committee tonight that we approved will be posted in the newspaper for you to be able to look and review and look at all those numbers before we come back and vote on it in full court.
Surely.
And there will be another public hearing before we vote for people to come and address after they've had time to look at those numbers.
Surely you're not going to put a 500-page document in a newspaper. You're going to put a one-page summary. So I want to see the 500-page document, and I'm sure that everybody else wants to see the raw numbers too. That's my question, very directly. Earlier, we talked about employee raises. I got an idea. If a lower-paid employee needs a 15 to 20% raise, maybe that employee should go acquire the personal skills to increase their knowledge so that they can be qualified for a higher position in the county, and then they can receive requisite compensation for their higher knowledge. How can they do that? Well, there's a couple community college programs in the state that gives free tuition to anyone over 25 that wants to get more training. It's free. They just got to dedicate their time to not watching TV or whatever they do. It's kind of basic. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again, I'm Crystal Templeton, I live in Webbs Camp Road in Walling. So, here's my question about the budget. You don't have to show me the one you're working on right now, but I'd like to see this year's budget of what we've spent. That is supposed to be public accessible. How do I access it? Because I have been on the website, I cannot find the bylaws for this county, the rules that you guys go for. And the ones that I'm hearing from chitter chatter and everywhere else are totally opposite from any other county that I've ever been a part of. So I would like to see, how do I see what you guys have spent our tax money on the past 12, 24, 36 months?
Tennessee Comptroller's Office.
Okay, so instead of the government, like, because all the other counties, because I've checked, all the other counties have it on their website. I can go to Murfreesboro Police or Murfreesboro City right now and see exactly what they spent, what the police department spent. I can see every bit of that online. We have capabilities to do that, so I don't know why we're not just putting that out there. So Tennessee Comptroller's Office, I will start there tomorrow. Bylaws, where are the bylaws for the county?
If you'll give me your email before you leave tonight, I'll email you our latest bylaws. They were amended in 2022, I believe.
Okay.
Was the latest rendition. I'll get that to you.
Is there a reason why those can't be just on the website?
I'm sure they can. I just can get it to you
I don't know if they
tonight.
have it. I didn't know it wasn't on there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've searched everywhere for them. Answer my question from earlier, is there not anywhere else? I want our sheriff's office and our EMS up to par, okay? I do, because being retired law enforcement, that's important. However, there's got to be somewhere else that we can pull this money from, and I've heard commissioners, alleging that there may be some misappropriation. We just want transparency, guys. We want transparency. We love White County, okay? Templetons, we've come home to retire, but we need transparency, and I think that that's what most of the county is asking for right now. Stop playing numbers games. Prior to, right now, your tax rate was higher than Williamson County's. Granted, your property values were lower, but when you're looking at the percentages, I guarantee you, I'm I'm gonna throw a number out here, 75% of the people sitting in this room, if they could get for their property what it was assessed at, they would be peace out White County.
Write me a check.
So that's where your problem is coming from. Your assessments came in really high, and there was some play, and we're not gonna get into that, because I already went through that, and we've gotten that taken care of, but there was some play on words on that, on whose fault the assessments came in at. But you're gonna email that to me, I'll get with
I will.
you directly after. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing I want you to know, the
Yes.
county commission, we didn't do the assessment.
I know that,
Anything to do.
but I heard some allegations of misappropriation of county funds coming from this, somewhere up in this direction earlier, and I want to see where the money has been spent prior to now, because why would we want to give you more money if you're not being responsible with what we've already given you? Yep.
Well, I can guarantee you, it's been, our county pinches every little penny it can, always has.
You were talking,
Employees
just
are
one
always-
thing to address. In this, we have allocated $10,000 to upgrade the website because our website is very old. It costs money to do that, to get upgrades, to have those things on there, and we've not allocated funds for that.
Well, but you've
in
also
years.
talked about, people donating and things like that. This is a retirement community from what I've seen so far, and just in this room alone tonight, I guarantee you, there is someone in here with the skills to update the website, and they would probably do it for pennies on the dollar. They may even volunteer their time to do it. All you have to do is ask. That's all you have to do.
It doesn't cost $10,000 to update a website.
Melinda Marriott, Tolleson Town Road.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Melinda Marriott on Tolleson Town Road. I don't know, our property assessment went up 110% for manufactured mobile homes on land. We are assessed at the same rate as a stick-built house. And I guarantee you, I'm not gonna get a buyer to buy a manufactured home at the same price as they're gonna build a stick-built home.
You also couldn't get a lender to lend on one.
And getting a lender to lend on one is difficult. At 1.5, as I did the math, at 1.5, our taxes are gonna go up $750. Not 45, not nothing. At 1.57, our property tax is gonna go up $856. That's not a 15% increase, a 20%, that's better than 50% increase in my property taxes. So, my question is there a way to challenge this bogus number? Because trust me, what they put down on that paper, if somebody came and offered us, hey, bye-bye, I mean, it would be, yeah, great. But there's nobody gonna come and offer me the price that they've assessed our property at.
Does she see Junior for the?
There's a board of equalization, and you have to have an appraisal to present to them of what.
Within the county.
Appraisal company would.
Well, right, but I'm saying that the Board of Equalization
Is in White County.
so just look for them. Because, I totally get it. I get that we need to give employees. I'm retired, so my income is fixed. I guarantee you that Social Security doesn't go up 15%. We're lucky to get a 3%. And I understand, while I was working, I never got a 15%. I was lucky to get a 3% while working. But I totally understand, and I totally understand we need to increase, and we need to be able to keep good competent people, we need new equipment, I understand that. But I'm saying is, our taxes didn't go up $45 a year, $50 a year. They went up 50%, better than 50% of what we were paying. And that's a lot. I mean, $850 in 1 year for property tax, that's a whole lot.
Just the property value, the increase in the property value doesn't equate to the increase in property tax. It's based on the rate, not the value.
That's right, and I multiplied 1.50 by my new assessed rate. And that's how I come up with the $750 increase, and a 1.57 multiplication
So
comes
dollar
up.
seven is 23%. It's 23% increase versus the $2.05.
But her home went up 100.
But that might be your home,
I got you, I see what.
but our property went up 110%.
So she is, her property didn't go up 75%.
No.
As the average, hers went up 110. So even $1.21, she's gonna pay quite a bit more.
Even at the original $1.21, they said it went up $300 at $1.21.
Mine went up 113%, so I'm in the same boat.
Yes, there's a lot of people here.
Down to 1.131.
Yeah, I mean, when they talked about zero revenue, you'd have to go like way down, because even at 1.21, which they said was zero revenue increase, was a $300 increase. Wasn't zero. So,
It's an average.
right.
To go-
But I'm saying there's a lot of us that are above the average.
To go back to the Board of Equalization and the
Yeah.
appeals process, you'll need to get with our property tax assessor, Junior Jones.
Okay.
And come by here tomorrow on the first floor, or call him.
All right, thank you.
That has to be done fairly quickly.
Yeah, all
too.
right. Thank you. I wish they would have made a known that. I mean,
They have to spend
Test. Yeah, you got a point there. If you want to contest it, it's gonna cost you $500 off the cuff to get another appraisal done. So you ain't saving nothing, so you might as well just swallow it. But, my name's Joe Davis. I live out on, Old Kentucky Road there, right next to White County's next claim to fame, White County Landfill, home of Middle Tennessee's largest new trash receptacle, okay? Appreciate you guys putting it in my backyard, but, see Roger over there smiling about that. He likes that, don't he? He done told his brother-in-law, he said, hey, these big things happening over that dump, so he done put his place for sale. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I just want to know, is my place going to go, are we going to be adjusted yearly? As this dump grows and the stink grows, is my values going to go down, you think? Are we going to be able to visit that every year? Am I going to have to pay the $500 to have my reassessment done every year? Just curious.
Yeah, and I'm his neighbor.
Just curious how that's going to
Every
work.
5 years reassessment.
So I just going to bite the bullet for 5 years, even though I'm living with that stench when it starts? You think? So don't you think my value's going to go down like it has in other counties? Other landfills? Yes or no? Just ask me a question. What do you think?
I think it gets reappraised every 5 years. I don't
So,
know.
okay. But on that note, I got 6 acres, a little barn house that me and my wife built, okay? It went up, I'm like this other young lady, it went 100+%, I don't do the math good, but it went up 100+%. I got a garage, a metal tube garage, they valued it $86,000. It cost me $17,000 to build it. Well, that's a pretty good return on investment. In your guys' part, not mine, and I ain't gonna get it, okay? I mean, that's a little much. But, I do and the taxes, the other guy said it's went up $3 or something, that's a heck of a deal too. Because mine went up, at the 1.5%, it's gonna go up, 50% what taxes are. 1.57 is gonna go up 50, whatever. But I'm saying this, I don't know how we're gonna, I guess I'd go spend the $500, get an appraisal to save that $500 on my taxes. That's not a good investment, right? So, I mean, maybe if you guys have some input, I could, is there a company that does that cheaper? Does it?
Get a full rate.
Oh, yeah, I mean, does the county, don't know anything like that? No. On the, but on a note, another note, I commend you county commissioners, guys. This is, what you guys do, I wouldn't want your job nothing in the world, all right? You wear a lot of hats, you do a lot of good things. I work for the county, not here, but I work for the county government for 36 years. You don't join the county government to get rich, unless you're in politics. Not on your side, but maybe a Biden or something like that. But anyway, you don't join that job to get rich, but they had to get creative. I worked there a long time, so we've seen this economy go up and down, and I don't want to go over 3 minutes. But to get creative, what you gotta do, the young man here said 12% across the board, that's a heck of a deal. Put some dollar amounts with it, because what happened, I seen happen, this guy making 180 a year, he got 12%, golly, he got a pretty good nut. This guy down here making 10, he didn't get much. So let's maybe tie some dollar bills with it. Let's do this guy's math. And I know somebody's up top's gonna be hurt, they're gonna be hurt about it, but let's do the math, and if it equates to 700,000, I don't know. Let's do the math, let's just give this, let's tear it up, give it across the board like that. Cause this is gonna be hard to swallow. These people don't need to make $9 an hour. $12 an hour is hard to get by on. Another way we need to look at this here, I don't know what the vacation, the paid time off rate is here. Do you guys do like a accrual on your PTO, vacation, sick time? Maybe raise the rate. If you're to retention, raise them rates every 2 years, every 3 years, give them guys a 2% on top of the cost of living. That, you're not gonna get rich. If these guys are coming here thinking they're gonna get rich, it ain't gonna happen. But these guys
Mr.
deserve it.
Davis, you're well over the 3-minute mark. I'm enjoying the levity.
I'm sure but I'm sure I know.
Let me respond real quick, just because he brought something up, and I was gonna say it before we finished up tonight anyway.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure that everybody knows that everybody in this room here tonight lives here in the county. We all pay the property taxes. And these guys especially, hours and hours and hours, they beat their heads on the table trying to figure this out. And we've done this. This is, I'm going into my 8th year, and I'm telling you right now, I'm done.
Yep.
I will not run again. I promise you, you couldn't pay me. And I think there's about 9 or 10 of us of the 14 that wouldn't do it either, because the $250 a month doesn't pay my gas to run from Central View up here and back to these meetings. So I know that sometimes it feels like it's we and them, or y'all and them, or whatever, but we're all in this together. And these are people that just happen to say, I'm gonna go do that. It's more like you said, Joey, it's a public service type thing is what it is. And so I just want to make sure that everybody in the room knows that I genuinely feel like the 14 people that's on this commission is trying to do the right thing for the county. And it's very uncomfortable. And when you see and you talk to folks, like we've got one of our sheriff's department employees over there, when they're bleeding employees out to the counties around us because we cannot compete. Same thing, we had, the last meeting, we had our EMS director up here. We got 3 EMT crews on shift in the county. One of the ambulances is always gone somewhere to Nashville, whatever, transported, right? And they're getting really close to a situation where somebody's gonna call and they're not gonna be there. Same thing with the sheriff's department. So, and I'm as guilty, I said that in the last meeting too. I hold myself accountable for not having done something more aggressively over the last 8 years. Because what happens is we get in this situation and we get a room full of people in here and it's uncomfortable. When people are telling you, hey, you know, look what you're doing to me, look what you're doing to me, that hits in here and you're thinking, I don't want to do that. So guess what we do? For the last 8 years, we've said, no, we're not going to do it. And we keep going, we keep going. I know that at least the last 4 years, we've passed a budget with a deficit. We didn't have a balanced budget because we said, we're not going to increase the property taxes to fund what we need to do, so we're just going to let it ride. Shame on us for doing that. And now we're to a point where, like, some of these things are going to have to be addressed, or we had a neighboring county that the comptroller came in and took over because they got in a situation where they wouldn't address it as a commission And the comptroller came in and said, if you guys don't do it, we're gonna do it. So they came in, they built the budget, they set the property tax rate, took it out of the hands of the county commission, and that's just not a good situation to be in. So, I'm gonna have to pay it too. Mine went from, I heard your numbers, my previous appraisal was 166 and it went to 278. That was what my house was, 166 to 278. I'm gonna pay it too.
Well, Roger, mine is, that you know where I live, in that barn. I live in a barn, Roger.
Yeah.
$411,000.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem with that is the appraisal process. I don't know exactly how it works, but I feel like it works on sales and square footage. And so, and the state does that, like nobody locally does that reappraisal. The state does that reappraisal every 5
The
years.
state sets the guidelines, they do not do all of it. I worked for the state.
So what?
They don't do, the assessor does.
The guidelines are based on what? The guidelines are based on what? Market sales and
You're
square
gonna feel
footage.
these taxes, I get that. I have 3 teenagers at home. We work our tails off. And now you want an extra $500 and something from us a year.
I don't want it. I don't want to pay mine. I don't want to pay mine either.
Whether you're voting for 157.
Right, that's the point I was trying to make.
$500 a month.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, all right, you guys? Hats off to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Dr. Zahn. I live on Elk, Kentucky.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi. So I got a couple questions. Based that it's across the board here, and like there's everybody's taxes that went up, like ridiculous, well, assessments, which is gonna end up being their taxes based on what they have. We're not the $1 million people coming in here and putting up 20 different houses. Just on Old Kentucky, there's like 2 different places that I couldn't touch the property if I wanted to. And they all have putting like 20 houses on there and selling them for like $350,000, $400,000. I'd kind of like to know where that's at, and if all of us are kind of complaining about how much it went, because that's a huge raise for anybody. Why aren't you guys addressing Nashville for us? I mean, you're kind of representing us. We shouldn't have to go at each as an individual to that. There should be something, be like, hey, this is our county. We're not Nashville. We're not, Murfreesboro. We're a group of farmers and retirees that don't have this kind of budget. So that was my question there. We all have to budget, so I know how hard it is. And with the wages, if we're gonna play the wage game, we can up the wages, but the next county over is gonna do the same thing later. It's not gonna solve the problem. There's just gonna be a bidding war. Why can't we figure out how to grow roots here? Make people wanna stay here. They offer, a discounted gym membership, or Verizon, they offer me 15% off because I'm a government worker, or whatever. Or maybe we should look for EMS, maybe there's a company out there that we can privatize it for, and even though it kind of stinks going out type deal, but it brings in another business, and it might be beneficial to help with budget and other things. Why are we not looking kind of outside the box? Why is it like, okay, we gotta pay this because we have the bill? Everybody else had to come up with a situation. Like my situation is I couldn't afford Michigan anymore, and I came here to take care of my father. Didn't happen exactly the way I planned. I'm living in a little turd. But my little turd, and like in Michigan, I'd be paying the same price, but they have more that goes into the roads because it's all destructive and everything. So, I mean, there's different stuff there, but it's like the price really it's like not becoming beneficial for me anymore. And when it comes to the prices that they want for these houses, try insuring your house for that. They're not going to cover it. So that leaves us with being underinsured, because there's no way they're going to cover some of these places for what they're asking and what they're saying that they're worth. Just going through my list. I didn't get to talk last time, that's why I was late this time, because I knew it wasn't going to change very much. And I also don't want to really build here anymore, because I found out permits now are $2,500. When I sold my house in Michigan, I was going to try and build. Well, it's already becoming kind of unattainable, because that was a huge stretch. And then, like, can we do something like with businesses? Get more businesses to come in, that would help with more revenue, get a better situation, I don't know. Just different ideas to think of, to do outside of the box, to come up with stuff and come to a common meeting ground. I just don't think it's right for everybody that owns a piece of property to be playing, just because people came in and spent a crud ton of money on 20-acre parcels for $1 million, that all of us are gonna have to put like $150 increases or more, because I think mine's like 170, what I figured out it to be, because of those people. That's kind of it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ready? I'll be fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tracy Fowler, 7th District. First of all, I want to say thank you guys. I get it. We just had our budget meeting. I wish we'd have had half as many people at our school board budget because it was passed. 3.6 million deficit, I believe. Chad can tell you for sure. And I voted no, by the way. So I want to bring to y'all's attention, everybody probably already knows, but Smith County has a building permit system where you purchase a Smith County building permit, nothing gets inspected. They do a residential, commercial, and industrial. Then you have to buy, but you buy a state building permit that does get inspected. Now, we could keep every bit of that money in White County if we did that. So you would have got the Central View Mercantile, they would have had to buy a permit, the people down in Dole for the Trust Place. All these commercial buildings around would have to buy a permit through White County. And then we wouldn't be paying out, we pay out 2 salaries right now, we wouldn't be paying out 3 that's fixing to come up. So, and we would not be buying vehicles, paying the vehicle insurance, paying employee insurance, etc. Everything we have to pay for them. We could keep all that money in White County, and y'all could figure it up. If it was done for the year 2024, we had 256 permits. At $1,500 that Smith County charges right now, that would have been $384,000 that we could have kept in our county. That's quite a bit of money. Now, I think the people here would actually want the 4 deputies added in. I believe that's what it was, 4 deputies, EMS, and maybe a new ambulance. But I'm sorry, I don't feel like we need a full-time EMA director. We don't have tons of tornadoes coming through. We're not a hurricane place. He goes out on the fire department calls anyway, because I believe he's a volunteer fireman. I do not believe we need an office assistant. Sorry, DW. And I do not believe we need an assistant EMS director. I believe there's some things that can be marked off here that could save some money, and we could try to work a budget that could be passed if everybody would work together. Oh, and by the way, I have 22.44 acres. Mine was, and I am Greenbelt. I have a barn on it. Right now, there is a house being built. And it was before $98,500. It is now, which is the land and the old barn, $290,800. And yes, I'm afraid to see when I get my house done, how much it's going to be then. That's what I'm afraid of. Thanks, guys.
Lynn Holloway. I live at 9180 Monterey Highway. And I just think there's a big white elephant in the room. We bounce around, but we don't have industry. I don't know who's responsible. Are you responsible for that, Dean-Wayne? We don't have industry. My distant cousin, Mo Sims, in the late 60s brought industry in here, and he worked hard to do it. And there's a lot of people that still live in this county that were raised by families that worked for Mallory's and Wagner, and it was booming. And that's where, instead of taxing the people, that's what we need you to do. We need you to bring industry in here. We have nothing. My husband has to go out of the county to work. You're talking about we can't compete, you're exactly right. My husband does tool and die work, and he can make $16, $20 here. He can go to Smithville, and he can make $40 an hour. So we can't compete. You cannot say we can compete because we cannot. And that's why we don't have industry. We need help. We need something to bring that revenue in instead of taking it out of our pockets. We're desperate here. I have 7 properties in White County. 18 acres went up 116%. No buildings, nothing. That's totally ridiculous. Our home went up 89%, nothing new on it, nothing. So my question is, Junior's not here tonight. I want to know what Junior's job is. He was saying it was the state. It's all on the state, and then it's on you guys to vote about it. What does he do? Does he do his homework to send into the state? Does he do that? Because if he doesn't...
Official, I'd hate to speak.
Okay, if he doesn't, we need to do away with that position, because we don't pay him taxes. We need him working for us. And from people that's been in that position before, they tell me that they have to do their homework. They have to turn it in. They've got to get out in the community. Instead of calling somebody and saying, hey, you got any new structures going up in your community? We don't need that. We need somebody to work. We need you to work. We need everybody to work at this, because you're in that position.
I don't think we have an issue with people not working.
No, we need you to get industry in here. If you're the man, we need you to do that for us. We're desperate. That is the problem with White County. It's always been the problem since I think Mallory's left in 2005. That employee, it was huge. And so was Wagner, or I don't know the name of it, it's changed, owners a lot of times. But the old Mallory's plant before, when it went out, I was told at the time, I think they left in 2005, 2004 or 5, I think it's 2005. Some company was wanting to come in, you may know about this, you may know who it is, and they asked the county to do something on the roof of the building, and whoever was in control of that did not want to do that, and so they left. They did not come here, I mean. So that's a problem. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Tom Ferris on Crossville Highway, Bon Air, and Denny, what she said, yeah, you. Somebody's always going to earn more than somebody else, and then there's always going to be somebody that earns less. It's a fact of life. People lose and leave jobs for various reasons. I was talking with Dakota right before the meeting began. The job I retired from, I joined that job, left one previous to it, took a $20,000 pay cut. So people leave and come and go for various reasons. County property tax should not be based on employee salary rates. Dakota mentioned that the pay system here does not have it where a one-year employee makes less than a 5-year employee doing the same job. That's nuts. You should have a scale where longevity contributes to pay increase, an amount. Longevity should increase vacation time. The job I took, first year on the job, I had 1 week vacation. After 5 years, I think it went up, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It increased with the time on the job. Roger mentioned at the meeting, and mentioned again here today, that the sales tax was put on the agenda and voted down 3 times. That's a clue. People here do not want more taxes. That's a big hint.
Let me ask you a question. Do you shop at Walmart?
Yeah.
Minimally. You pay it when anything you buy in the city, you pay that. We was trying to make the county the same.
I understand that whole principle, Muscles, I understand that whole principle.
But y'all keep saying we failed y'all. Y'all had the opportunity to make this right. That's $1 million. We didn't sit here arguing about this. We'd had that coming in.
Right, out of our pocket.
No.
You're already paying.
You're paying it.
So getting back to employee pay.
You're paying it,
Getting back to employee pay.
Go ahead, Mr.
The first year employee definitely should not be making, let's just take the sheriff's department.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Go ahead.
In this, I pause your time, by the way, while I'm speaking. In this proposed budget that we're looking at this year, we did have a tiered longevity system. So the first group is 0 to 4 years, the second group is 5 to 9 years, and the third group is 10 plus years. And then we also had an incentive for if you've had relevant experience in that field. So let's say you're coming from Putnam County with 20 years of experience, you'll get $1 more to start here with White County.
And this is.
That was in this proposal.
That's excellent.
And that is, so, earlier, Commissioner White mentioned a 12% raise would be 1.2 million. So every percent raise is about $100,000. So if we do a 2% raise, that's $200,000. The reason this number is so much higher this year is because we were working on, additionally, we were working on a longevity incentive and then the education piece alongside it.
So my question is, who is leaving, let's just pick on the sheriff's department for one example. Who is leaving the sheriff's department to go to Putnam County, Crossville, or any other county? Is it the 7-year guy, the 10-year guy, or is it the 1, 2, 3-year guy?
I don't want to speak.
Going to the city of Sparta, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Losing out to the city of Sparta.
You know,
I had a guy just recently left and went to go get a dispatch job in a close by county, get paid more than my patrol name. He was, let's see, been in the business with us this time. He was a 2-year guy, but had been in the business probably 5. We lost, usually they come to us, they get trained, and then they go to the city, or they go to another county.
You're never going to stop them.
And I have a stat from last year, so this is a year old. But in the sheriff's department, employees that are 0 to 3 years, there's 49 of them. 4 to 10 years, there's 28 of them. 11 to 15, there's 3.
And right now,
and 15
those
to
guys
20.
are making the same amount.
Yes, sir. So you'll see the.
Yes, sir, that's what we're trying to fix.
So the 0 to 3 years, there's 49 of them, and then once you get up to 11 plus, there's only 3. So I think you would be, I don't want to speak for the sheriff, but I think they're losing younger employees.
Right.
That are fresh out of the academy.
Less time.
Yes.
Now, I'm surprised they're not losing the guy with 10 years that's making the same amount of money as the guy with 1 year.
And perhaps they could, I don't want to speak for.
To encourage people to apply, which is one of the problems because of the lower pay rate, you don't give a pay raise across the board. You start with the small, young guys to get them on the job. And then with the built-in tiered system, where after so much time, they will earn more. That's encouraging them to stay.
So we had an issue last year, with just that issue last year, coming up with the sheriff's department in the jailers. Our jailers, we can't get jailers, we don't have jailers, they're underpaid. So we allocated an extra $1 an hour raise to the jailers last year, because that's what we heard. We addressed that. Well, then what happens then is all of a sudden the jailers are making 50 cents less than their boss that's over them, or the next person. So we created another problem and bottleneck by, you can't just pick out one little group and say this, it kind of all goes.
The problem, and we will all discuss this is a across-the-board problem, and you cannot fix the entire thing at one time. So you start with the low-end employees, which gets people to apply for the job. Then once they get here, they may say, you know what, this is pretty good. I like it here. This is pretty good. Benefits are coming, and pay increase will come. The job I took was with federal government, federal law enforcement, and one of the ways I increased my pay $7,500, third year on the job, is I got promoted to sergeant. So I pushed and built and got the education, or whatever the person said. Do it for yourself. And that can be done here without in crazy property tax increase. It's not necessary. One last thing, a little bit off topic, but I saw this at a parade last year here in town. Sheriff's Department has an MRAP. Sell that thing. Why can't you?
Because it's not ours.
Are you paying maintenance on it? Are you guys paying maintenance on it?
Just to keep it up and running, it was free, we didn't purchase it. It's still.
Right, the military getting rid of these things if they don't want them to use ones. MRAPs, has it been driven or used since the parade last year?
I can speak to that.
It probably
All I
has.
can tell you is that it's funded through a grant, not through the county budget.
It's a piece of equipment the county doesn't need.
It's like Trump's new airplane.
No, that's not like Trump's new airplane. And Brad, like I said, I saw it one time, I don't know how long we've had it.
Yeah.
First time I saw it was a parade last year, and it probably hasn't been run or driven since. It's something absolutely unnecessary. They have a history of very expensive transmission repair costs, so.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move, thank you.
Thank you.
So my name is Carol Pugh. I live up on Bonnier. And I way overpaid for the house that I'm in. So my property taxes are going to be skyrocketing. I'm retired. I just feel, had I known all of this, I would not have moved here. I'm retired, I'm single. I live on $1,049 a month. That's what I live on. That's what comes to my Social Security check every month.
Have you applied for the relief, for the tax relief?
Well, I do, that's $100. That wouldn't even put gas in my car for a week.
That ratio gets readjusted at every appraisal.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. But a couple more things I just want to say that really bothers me since I've moved here. And I'm a farm girl, I get that. But all these people that they're being overassessed on their taxes when they have a $50,000 house, and now it's a $150,000 house being assessed at. These people are living in squalor. I volunteer at the church, and the people that come in that church because they have nothing, they don't have money to buy a gallon of milk, and you're gonna raise their taxes $500 on a house that should have been bulldozed 50 years ago? And I don't know if you guys drive around Sparta or what, and I'm not talking the main roads, I'm talking the back roads. It's disgusting. And the other thing that's disgusting is your animal shelter. I don't even think that's been brought up in the 2 meetings that I've been here. You guys should all be ashamed of yourselves. From what I have seen of the poor animals that are being dumped out on Coal Bank, and God knows where else, Clifty, whatever. It's really something that needs to be addressed. And I don't know where all that money's gonna come from. Maybe you can get one of the sheriffs to kind of donate some of his 15%. Just saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I said that as long as I could. I'm in both districts. I'm in District 6 and 7. I was born and raised here. I'm the 3rd generation of my family farm. I've sat here with you guys all this time, with all these meetings, and I know you're
gonna make us cry, Connie. You're gonna make us cry.
No, it's sad for my county because I understand both sides. There's people in this county that's gonna lose what they've got because they can't pay these taxes.
I agree.
And I want everybody to know everything is not all about money. It's not. It's about what we can live with and what we can do for our people of this county. I have lived here my whole life and I don't want to lose what I've got. And I understand we're promoting a retired county, a retired community, but there's ways that we can look at things that we can be able to make these work. 15% is way above what needs to be done, way above it. And I just want us to try, and like I said, money's not everything. And all you guys know, I've been this for 4 years. Every meeting y'all have had, I have been here. I have done exactly what you guys are trying to do, trying to figure out ways. But we've got to do something for our people, not for everything else that's money. We got 28% of this county that's footing the bill for 350 people. That's a shame. That is a shame. But I'm not saying they don't need the raises, but 15% is way too much. I've never made that in my entire life. If you can't live in this county on what you make, you've got to go where the money is. Everybody's got to do that. I done it my whole life. But the sales tax thing, it's something that we've got to try to get done. I know people don't want to pay taxes. If you spend money in Cookeville, you're not getting a benefit at all from that. If you spend money in town, you're not reaping a penny from that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Hey, I'm Kendall McCormick, Baron Oaks Kokomo. I know part of y'all, don't know you two, but I know them, and I may make you mad, I don't care. I'm gonna tell you what I think. They come out there and sit on the college educated idiots out the house, appraise it. An old house, 6-year-old house, I expected probably a 25% increase in the price. They doubled it. The bottom, turned, I think, the floor out of it, and the sides are falling off of it. I mean, it ain't, I'm 84 years old, I don't intend to upgrade it, done. And they charged me for bottom in Greenbelt, and I got 19.5 acres, and there's a sinkhole, T-Gal holds the water, and water gets over it, you can't raise no corn, there's no about, I can't use about 9 acres of the farm, but they charged me with 31 acres that I had, and I don't have it, 19.5 on the deed, I don't know why they couldn't read, but that's all I got to say, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I have a question about his farm. Where they misread how many acres he has. Does he have to pay $500 to an assessor to come back and assess what's going on there?
No.
Yeah, he needs to get with Junior pretty quickly. But no, I don't want to speak for Junior's process. I would not.
I just want to know the direction to go.
I would not suspect he would have to pay for, yeah.
That's a deed, not a value thing,
Yeah.
it's a deed discrepancy.
That would be, I would have him call Junior tomorrow, quickly. And-
I'll call you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I've been kind of taking care of it, so. All right, thank you.
Hi, my name's Kat Van Zandt. Mine's going to be real quick. I was one of the folks who actually really tried to think about that tax on the sales tax, and I have never voted for a tax increase. I tell you, I am a fiscal conservative, never voted for it, but I actually thought about it this time because I saw this coming, and I mean, you have to see this coming. But the real concern was, there's a lot of stuff going on, Sparta Chit Chat. Is Tom Ferguson actually in here still, or did he leave? So Sparta Chit Chat on Facebook, there's a lot of chat going on about that at the time. But nobody would go on record to say, if you take this tax, we will not raise your property taxes. Nobody would go on record to say that. And I think that was the big concern I know I had. Like, I don't want to get double taxed. You're going to tax me with a sales tax and then you're just going to hit me on the back end again. Nobody goes on record to say that. We want some visibility into that. We want to know where our money's going. And then the other thing we're hearing today, people want to see visibility into the budget. If we're coming here and you're going to have this crowd of folks here, why would you not have, this is what our budget is, printed right here, right for you. This is what we're trying to do. You know what? I was one of those folks who was on EMS. My husband just had heart surgery. You know what? EMS came and my bus was broken. And they had to take him to the hospital, he had to walk off the ambulance because it was broken. You think I won't vote for taxes for our sheriff, for our EMS staff? Yeah. But I gotta know you aren't gonna hit me on the back end. And that's really been my concern. So what I wanna know is, when you provide that document that she's asking you for, that we can all see, is that gonna give us everything, visibility, so that we know that? People can't afford this, which, on this county tax. My suggestion would be good visibility and say, you know what, we're not gonna do this on the taxes here, but we're gonna push this on the sales tax and give you visibility. I just don't think people can afford this here. That's all I have to say, so thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, when can we redo the sales tax again? It's not for a while, is it? Can we?
I think we're past the statute, I think we could add.
Yeah, is it off top of it? Is it 180? Is it 180?
I'm pretty sure we're past the statute, it could be brought up for vote again.
So if
Sorry.
the people were educated about that, and then they might vote yes for it, we just need more education on it.
Is the sales tax enough to cover everything?
No.
I know a lot of us commissioners, over the 3 times that it got brought up for vote, worked really hard. I took absolute bashing on Facebook, on Sparta Chit Chat, multiple times over that, trying to explain what it was and that it was going for county employees paid. And
I lived here at that time and didn't even know, I didn't hear anything about it until after the vote was already done.
so how do we,
Yeah.
how do we educate people? I mean, how do we do it, right? Like, for that to go out, we personally have to spend money, make phone calls, mail stuff, we get on social media, we do that, and we've done that, and people still say, I didn't know about it, I didn't know what it was, people still say that.
I think we had roughly like 1,200 people vote out of 28,000.
Yeah, because I think that they didn't know. But I think that's where, again, I said earlier, if you guys need help, if you'll ask for volunteers, there are boots on the ground out here.
We beg every organization for help.
We beg. This lady right here done a lot.
Historically, vote.
She was up there handing out papers and.
All right, let's address our, you go ahead and we'll circle, I'm sure we'll circle back around. Go ahead, sorry. I'm sorry.
3719 Will Thompson Road.
What was your name? I'm sorry.
Snyder, 3719 Will Thompson Road. I think one of the reasons so many people are scared and angry right now is they've seen so many people move into White County in the last 5 years, so many more parcels and homes being built and more tax revenue coming in off that. And they're scratching their heads and they're wondering, where's all that money gone? How are you guys accounting for that? What are you doing with it? And so that's one of the questions I have. There's got to be a whole lot more money coming in from all that new construction and all those parcels being split. On the subject of 15% pay increases for county employees, I've never heard in my life, not even in private sector, anybody get a 15% pay raise in 1 year. They're saying lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. What wasn't done a few years back, you just can't balance a budget right now this year. Need to start thinking about stepping that out a few years, okay? 50%, not a good idea. Guys, going to be very unpopular, even with next year being an election year. The new positions being created. There's a position being considered Parks and Recreations. How much money does that position bring in on an annual basis right now to substantiate a full-time position? How much
There's a 3-year grant. The first year it pays, how much? 50% the first year.
How much? What's the dollar figure?
The grant's $100,000.
$100,000 for 3 years.
That's to get the position started. So I think what you're asking is, what does that department generate? Is that
Exactly.
So we don't have a director right now. That's
Right, so that department needs to generate that amount of money to pay that person. If it's not doing it, then we don't hire that person because it's a volunteer job.
Right now,
or a part-time job.
we're doing it voluntarily right now.
And that's what I recommend, we continue to do until we start the budget for it.
Well, the point you're trying to make, and I understand, if we had a full-time Parks and Rec director, they can go out and hunt for grants. We have the foundation set for those people, for them to be able to work and find grant money. but we have to have a
But
person
this
there.
is expenditure where this person's gonna get paid on grant money. Is it all?
They're not getting paid, they're starting out getting paid on grant money, but then they have the ability to generate more grant money because they have that position. and
They have the
they're
ability,
working.
but will they be able to do it? Has that been
Yes,
proven?
there's grants out there that we can't get because we don't have that person.
Who writes grants for the county? You have a volunteer, do you have a private person? Because I'd be more than happy to write up grants for you guys. I'll just take a little commission on that. We can work out, we can work
That's
out a contract.
the county exec, right, because there's private sector that do that.
Sure.
Right, and it's a big business,
So
and that's
we're
why.
gonna pay a county employee to do that.
Correct.
And we're gonna do that with property tax dollars. Okay.
But they're gonna be writing grants and getting grants that we're not able to get.
On the subject of the property tax increases, it doesn't matter what your property's valued at. It comes down to the base tax rate, what you're gonna get at. So Junior and the state said 1.21. That puts my property tax going up $45 annually, okay? That's not a whole lot. Now, I'm all for everybody getting a pay raise, okay? I want better services. I want to see more deputies on the road. I want to see better EMS services. However, you can't always get what you want, but you can budget for it in the future. You got to start working on a 5-year plan in the future, okay? What are we talking about? 1.57 right now? Okay, at 1.55, okay, my property taxes go up from last year, $1,000, okay? 30% increase. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable, okay? Now, let's talk about sales tax, okay? Is it gonna be something that the public can vote on next year? When does the public get to vote on increased sales tax so the county gets some of that money pie? When does that come up for vote to the public again?
We've spent $75,000. It's about $25,000 per election to have that put on the ballot. We've done it 3 times already and it failed 3 times. I won't vote to do it again.
Oh my God, I can't believe that. Why does it cost $25,000 to get on the ballot?
It costs money to run an election, sir.
My God.
They have to get all the polling places up and staffed.
So, as comptroller's office and the budget people, how can you convince, you gotta have this argument, how can you convince the public? Everybody in the county's gotta pay another penny or two wherever you shop, so that we can not have our property taxes continue to increase. Because once again, sales tax is non-discriminatory. Every single
Yeah, I agree with you.
person,
We all agree with
the
you.
tourists, the workers, everybody pays for that.
If we would have done this 3 years ago, that we would have $3 million. That's been coming along, and we would probably, we would be.
We wouldn't be having this meeting.
So what I'm seeing is a downward, self-perpetuating spiral where we continue to have to raise property taxes, okay? We're gonna put more money into government, and the people are gonna get more scared, they're gonna be more angry. And just like the gal, born and raised here, and this is when I came with my argument, you're looking at people who have land in their homes paid for generations out here, and they don't make much money anymore. They're living on Social Security. And when they can't make their property tax payment, the county's gonna take their land. Paid for in the family for generations, and now it's gone because we can't pay the property tax on it. And I know we pay $500 to go get it reassessed, but somebody's gotta be able to waive that fee.
You don't have to pay $500 to go get it reassessed.
And it should be that number right there.
You go see the assessor, that's what you do.
Exactly, go see Junior.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you just said, no, they said you had to bring in a phrase. Yeah.
That's true.
Excuse me, sir.
He's correct. He's correct. So you know how much an appraisal costs? If you go get an appraiser, guess how much it's gonna cost you? Oh, way more than $500, probably gonna be closer to $750 to get a reappraisal, okay? So that is not good. That is very, those people are gonna look at that, and they're gonna go, I can't afford this. So I know you guys have a thankless job. It's difficult. You get none of it pushback from the public. But when it comes to spending tax dollars, okay, and I've worked for government, you gotta be able to do more with less, okay? You have to be able to stop spending money, start making those cuts. Got excess land? Sell it, okay? You foreclosed on somebody's property because they didn't make their tax payment, that property should be sold within 365 days, put that money back in the budget.
It was put up for auction and nobody bought it.
Nobody bought it.
It was put up for auction and nobody bought it. It has to bring at least what the tax record, what the tax bill is.
Got it, and once again, you have to get a waiver for that. How much, well, see, you didn't get any, there's money you've never had to begin with, and so we're trying to get some money that we never had. You owe taxes on this piece of property. I don't care if somebody owed $100,000 on a dirt lot. If you guys can sell that and make 50 grand on it, sell it, put that money in the budget.
We all agree with you on the sales tax. If we can get it back on there and it passes, I'll be the first one to make a motion to drop property tax by the dollar amount that the sales tax brings.
Yeah.
You're late on the sales tax now with all this being brought up.
Nobody's gonna vote for it. We tried for 3 years.
Yeah, it's $75,000 in the hole already because we failed 3 previous times.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you, for every single person that's sitting here, there's 100 people at home right now.
And the answer we always got was, well, you're just gonna raise our taxes anyways, we're not gonna vote for anything. That was,
usually happens.
that's the answer that we
But you went
got.
8 years without raising taxes.
In
We all
2020,
appreciate that.
Let's wrap up, let's wrap up just we're well past the 30-minute.
I understand. A lot of people live here in White County because it has always been historically an inexpensive place to live. Now it's becoming an expensive place to live. So this is gonna affect people's attitudes, and it's gonna probably cause a market shift in real estate, which I would tell everybody, you should be thinking about that.
Before we vote again, I'm gonna see, but the last time I looked at it, out of 95 counties, White County was 13th from the bottom in tax burden.
That's a good thing.
Well, some
Yeah.
don't get reappraised till next year.
Yeah, it doesn't happen all across the state at one time.
Yeah.
No. But that's the last time I looked, so I don't know how current that is, but the last time that we had some, and it was during this sales tax stuff, we were 13th from the bottom out of 95 counties in Tennessee, so.
The counties all the counties that are going through reappraisal are seeing anywhere from 65 to 100%.
Oh, they will.
All of them are. It's not, we're not.
Property values, I don't care what it is. It comes down to the multiplier on that, so that you can have enough money to balance the budget. I'll close out with, everything should be transparent. Everything that the county does is all public record. If it's not online, okay, post it here, have a book, have a binder that people can sign out, sit in a room and page through, give them access to a photocopy machine so they can get that information and take it home.
The Public Records Act allows them to be able to request that.
Right. But that's.
And we're doing live feed, like we just started that, like we're trying to
I know,
make improvements.
Coming up to speed, and I get it, and everybody appreciates that, including me. But if everybody streams in here in a single file, and they've got that information posted on the wall, in a book, then we don't have to make copies and give to every single individual to take home. That's what I'm getting at. Because if I know it's here, and I know who to go see, I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna take a look at it. Then I'm gonna see who's getting paid how much, how long they've been here. And once again, I wanna see the county employees take a pay raise. I'd like to see that. However, 15% is too much, and right now is not the best time to do it. Stretch it out a little bit. If you didn't do it last year, or the year before, or the year before that, you can't make up for all of it right now. And I think that's what a lot of folks are upset, is that seeing so many people moving to White County, so much more tax revenue coming in, but we're having, all these people are having to pay more. So
Thank you, sir.
upset about that.
Thank you. No, you're fine. Thank you.
I have one more question. I have been before that equalization board several times in my life, because one time in a 10-year span, my taxes went up 7 times, just like it went up last year. When did they make it that you have to have an appraisal? You do not have to have that appraisal all the times I went before.
That's what I was told when I called.
That would,
She told me I needed one, but I mean, I don't have an appraisal because I don't.
That board's supposed to be made up of citizens, right?
it is.
The equalization board is supposed to be made up of citizens.
Okay, I cannot imagine we can litigate this out anymore. We have adjudicated until 8:15. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
And second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all for sticking with us so late.